Guangwei took Yimo across a few streets before coming to a huge square. There weren't a lot of cultivators here, and Guangwei didn't stay here. She turned and took Yimo behind the square into a huge hall. Guangwei took Yimo across a few streets before coming to a huge square. There weren't a lot of cultivators here, and Guangwei didn't stay here. She turned and took Yimo behind the square into a huge hall. Yimo was certain this was the first time he had seen a hall this big. Even 9-star sect Black Ice Sect's hall wasn't even 1% as big as this. There were all sorts of glamorous stones hanging on the ceiling, shining down on the hall brightly. There were a lot of people here, almost in every corner. Yimo scanned with spirit sense, and there were all sorts of strange things here. He even saw a few ghost cultivators dealing cultivator souls. As for spirit beasts and golden core, or even nascent soul cultivators and essence spirits, they was all too common. Seeing this, Yimo sighed. If an ordinary person came here, he would be scared into psychosis. Guangwei looked around frantically immediately and wasn't able to find the person she looked for a long time. She looked extremely worried. Clearly her master had been bought. That would only result in death. Yimo patted her shoulder. Don't worry, let's go to where your master was before. Guangwei heard this and realized that she had been too worried. She quickly took Yimo to the innermost place in the palace. There was a row of more than 10 female cultivators. They were all very beautiful, but their faces were numb. Clearly, they knew the fate that beheld them. All of them had restrictions placed on them. If there wasn't someone specific to release them, they wouldn't be able to get away. Yimo saw this and felt very uncomfortable, but he knew there was nothing he could do. Whether it was on Earth or in the cultivation realm, such things happened, and it was impossible to eradicate. If Yimo had enough power, he would kill all of these human traffickers and let all the abducted people go. But he didn't have enough power. Power was his greatest weakness right now. Even though he was progressing very fast, compared to the powerful beings here, he was still a far cry away. Weren't you a cultivation woman bought only a few days ago? Why did you come back? A fat seller who was body condensation state level 7 saw Guangwei and asked in disbelief. Yimo sneered. Fat pig, who did you call a cultivation woman? Keep your month clean. The fat cultivator shivered and didn't dare to talk. The status between people who were being marked as for sale was different than the free people here. Even though one appeared here again in different status, it required different treatment. As for reproaching, even if Yimo slapped him a few times, he wouldn't dare to do anything. He offended a higher-level cultivator as a lower-level cultivator. But Yimo didn't know the rules here, so he didn't hit this fat man. Tell me, where is my master? Guangwei asked immediately. The fat man looked at Guangwei in confusion for a while before asking, You're talking about the woman who came with you that day? Yes, her. Where is she now? Guangwei asked desperately. The fat man dazed and said, She has an average look, so no one wanted her. A dual cultivation hotel has pre-ordered her, but just hasn't taken her away. Yimo was furious. That was the brothel of the cultivation realm. Anyone would be able to use that cultivation woman for cultivation until she died. Dual cultivation hotels were many times crueler than brothels. But Yimo was confused. Ming Xian was pretty like a beautiful young woman. Her looks were no lower than Qin Muxin and even prettier than Guangwei. How could she be average looking? Guangwei didn't realize this and quickly said, Bring my master out, we'll buy her. The fat man had a sliver of joy but put on a hard face. But she's been pre-ordered by the dual cultivation hotel. I can't regret. How could Yimo not know what the fat man meant? He sneered. If she's still here, then don't waste time. Bring her here. As for spirit stones, I have plenty. If she has one hair missing, I will tear down your stall. The fat man immediately replied, Okay, I'll get her sent over immediately. He ignored the last bit of Yimo's sentence. Many cultivators wanted to do this, but none of them could. Plus, this wasn't his stall. He was just working here. He took out a communication bead and sent a message. 10 minutes later, a triangular-eyed man brought a middle-aged female cultivator over. Yimo looked at her and could tell she was indeed Ming Xian. But her face was ruined. Yimo saw, and he realized that she did this herself. The people selling her wouldn't ruin her face. Master, Guang Wei saw Ming Xian and ran over immediately. The fat man saw this and laughed. The higher Ming Xian's status was, the more he would earn. Ming Xian saw Guang Wei with Yemo and was dazed for a moment before asking, "How are you with Yemo? How can he be in a place like this?" Guang Wei quickly said, "Master, I'll tell you this later. Yemo saved me and took me here to save you. Luckily, you're still here, Master. I was so scared." Guang Wei couldn't control her sadness and was about to cry. Yemo patted Guang Wei's shoulder, signaling her to calm down before saying to Ming Xian, "Ming Xian Bei, I didn't expect that after the farewell at Broken Leaf City we would meet again in the distant Heartless Sea." At this moment, she realized that Yemo came to save her. She asked shakily in surprise and joy, "Yemo, you saved Guang Wei? And now you came to save me?" Yemo nodded. "It was just luck that I saw Guang Wei. She's my friend, so I'm willing to help her. Plus, Wan Bei respects Ming Xian Bei's character." Ming Xian sighed in her heart about fate. In a few years, she not only could see Yemo's cultivation level, but needed Yemo to rescue her. But she thought more about karma. She didn't even give Yemo anything, but just didn't oppress him, and now she had this opportunity of redemption. For someone like her, she would rather die than dual cultivate with countless cultivators. Yemo said to the fat man, "Tell me, how many spirit stones?" "Hurry up." He smiled. That dual cultivation hotel offered 5 million top-grade spirit stones, but since you intervened you can pay 7 million. Yemo sneered, and just when he was about to speak, his spirit sense saw the eagle-eyed man come over here. Regardless whether he came for him, he needed to finish this deal now. Thinking about this, Yemo threw over a storage bag and said, "This is 7 million. Done deal?" The fat cultivator took it in joy. He didn't expect that he made such a high bid, and Yemo didn't even argue. But before he could count it, the eagle-eyed cultivator's voice sounded, "Wait, Shah, will have this female cultivator." He pointed at Ming Xian. Guang Wei heard this and began to worry, but Yemo didn't seem to hear the man talking and said to Guang Wei, "Let's go." Guang Wei heard this and began to worry, but Yemo didn't seem to hear the man talking and said to Guang Wei, "Let's go." "Wait." Shah stopped the two without hesitation. He then turned to the fat man and said, "Peng Ming, what are you doing with your business? Are you not going to follow the High City rules? I clearly saw that your deal hasn't finished. Why is she leaving?" Before the fat cultivator could respond, Yemo said coldly, "I already paid spirit stones. With which eye did you see with that the business hasn't finished?" Shah looked at Yemo in contempt. "Both of my eyes saw the deal wasn't finished. Don't speak if you don't know the rules." Then he said to Peng Ming, "Peng Ming, has the sale of this female cultivator finished?" The fat cultivator subconsciously shivered. "No, it hasn't. I haven't gotten the time to talk about the second part with this friend when you came." He then looked worriedly at Yemo and said, "Friend, the sale of cultivation here is indeed a two-part process. We just done the first part of the deal." Peng Ming had a clear mind, and after seeing the buyer of Guang Wei come and seemingly have great enmity with Yemo, how could he not know what happened? Yemo frowned. It was his first time here, and he didn't know that much. Peng Ming explained, "The first step is to use spirit chi just to reach an agreement and give me the spirit stones. The second part is I need to remove the cultivation woman's restrictions, and you need to pay again for that." Yemo finally realized how this Peng Ming was planning to scam him. The first step for 7 million was just the beginning, then he needed him to remove the restriction, and thus he could ask for whatever price he wanted. Usually, one needed the person who set the restriction to remove it. It was very hard for others to do so. Even so, it would require the power of the cultivator to be much higher than the one who placed the restriction. Otherwise, just one mistake and the restricted person would die. If the person who placed the restriction was truth realization state, then it would be very hard for another truth realization state to remove it. Yemo sneered, "Fat man, so you're saying I need to give you more spirit stones to finish the second part of the deal?" Peng Ming smiled. "You're right, friend, it's indeed so. But the second part of the deal won't be much more expensive than the first part." Yemo was furious. "Won't be more than the first part?" This was clearly a huge scam. Without a doubt, if he didn't agree to the second part, he wouldn't get his money back for the first part. Insha suddenly said, no matter how much spirit stones he pays, I will pay 1 million more. I'll have this female cultivator. Pang Ming looked happy and gave the spirit stones back to Yemo, seemingly helplessly. Sorry, someone is bidding a higher price. Yemo couldn't control his fury anymore and sent a spirit sense sword over. Pang Ming spat a mouthful of blood suddenly and then looked at Yemo with a pale face. He pointed at Yemo. You dare to attack in this business hall. Then he pressed the alarm button like crazy. Moments later, 2 cauldron-filling state tertiary stage cultivators came. You pressed the alarm button? The cauldron-filling state glanced coldly at Pang Ming. Pang Ming nodded his head like a chicken. Yes, 2 law enforcers. This person is making a deal here, but not only does he disobey the rules, he also attacked me. He then pointed the blood on the ground and was furious. You dare to attack him here? The cauldron-filling state's tones went icy cold while his partner blocked off Yemo's exit. Seeing this, everyone stopped what they were doing to watch the show. If it was somewhere else, he would kill these 2 cauldron-filling state cultivators and this Pang Ming, but he knew he would be dead for sure if he did that here. Yemo immediately went up. Law enforcers, this fat man is lying in front of you. He said I attacked him, but there are surveillance formations here, and many people saw. I didn't even move my hand. How did I attack him? That cauldron-filling state cultivator heard this and left. Moments later, he came back and said to the other cauldron-filling state, he didn't attack indeed. Wait, he attacked me. I spat blood because of that. Pang Ming shrieked. The cauldron-filling state who checked the surveillance said, do you have evidence? If you have evidence that he attacked you, we will take him away immediately. But if you have no evidence, and you dare to question us, then don't blame us. Pang Ming's heart went cold. He knew Yemo used a spirit sense attack. Spirit sense attack didn't have any cultivation essence waves. How was he going to find evidence? He also knew the 2 law enforcers knew this, but they had no evidence. Yemo sneered. Perhaps you felt your blood wasn't fresh and wanted to spit, or maybe you're sick. Who knows? The cultivators around laughed. A body condensation state cultivator getting sick? Was that possible? Seeing that they were going to leave, Pang Ming pointed at Yemo. This man didn't finish his deal with me and was going to take away a cultivation woman. He won't even let someone else bid. That is breaking the rules here. The cauldron-filling state was unhappy that he wasn't able to catch Yemo when he clearly attacked the fat man. Now that there was something else that involved Yemo, his face immediately sunk. You're quite bold, but you won't even get a chance to regret if you think this is your place. The cauldron-filling state took our spirit artifact handcuffs. Insha smirked. He knew this cultivator would be dead if the law enforcers took him. Yemo understood the rules approximately here. Even if the law enforcers wanted to help Pang Ming, they needed to get things clear publicly. How could he let the 2 take him away? He would truly be done for then. Yemo said, law enforcers, are you just going to listen to one side of the story and you can take people away? If that's the case, then I need to report to the city lord. The other cauldron-filling state stopped his partner from cuffing Yemo and said coldly, when did you see us listen to one side of the story? You didn't follow our rules. We can't take you away. Yemo laughed. Many people saw what happened and their surveillance formations. You 2 never asked my side? You just listened to the fat man and said I disobeyed the rules? Is this the rules of Inhai City? If Inhai City is really like this, then count me unlucky. A cultivator came and said, since when did Inhai City become a place that only listens to one side of the story? Anyone who comes here is equal. Even we are equal. This was a disaster transformation state tertiary stage cultivator. Yemo sneered, equal my asshole, yet he said it so seriously. The 2 cauldron-filling states saw this disaster transformation state cultivator, and their faces changed immediately and bowed. Manager. The disaster transformation state ignored the 2 and looked coldly at Yemo. If you don't give me your reason, I will kill you on the spot. Yemo was contemptuous. Kill him on the spot? A mere disaster transformation state, level 7 dared to make such bold statement. He killed a disaster transformation state level 4 when he was cauldron-filling state level 2. Now, he was cauldron-filling state level 6. But Yemo still answered, Manager, my deal with Pang Ming clearly finished, but he said it didn't. Instead, he wants to sell the female cultivator I bought to someone else. Is this a domineering act? If everyone does what he does, who dares to make deals here? Pang Ming quickly bowed and said, Manager, this cultivator is bullshitting. The deal clearly isn't finished. There's not only surveillance formations here, but also many eyewitnesses. He's lying on the spot. In Sha also said, Yes, manager. I indeed saw the deal wasn't finished, but he was forcefully saying it was. The disaster transformation state cultivator looked coldly at Emo. Is that so? Emo said in no rush, manager. Please let me ask this fat man a few questions. Emo said in no rush, manager. Please let me ask this fat man a few questions. The manager said indifferently, Ask. Emo looked at Pang Ming and said coldly, You said that your cultivation women are two-step deals, right? That's right. We've only done the first part of the deal, not the second part. Pang Ming immediately said. Okay, then did we finish the first part? Did you get my spirit stones? Emo asked with scorn. Pang Ming didn't know what Emo meant, but he nodded. Yes, the first part of the deal is over. You gave me spirit stones, and I gave you the cultivation woman. Emo suddenly raised his voice and questioned. So that means she's mine now? What right do you have to let someone who is mine be involved in another deal? Are my spirit stones fake, or is this something you always do? Pang Ming was dazed and couldn't react. Those cultivators who came here had to do the second part of the deal. As if they didn't, even if they got their cultivation woman, they wouldn't be able to use her. She would die very soon. He thought and immediately knew what Emo meant. He said loudly, You're right. But if you want to do the second part of the deal and I disagree, then the cultivation woman you buy will die for sure. If you're going to do the second part of the deal with me, then the deal isn't over. The first part one can regret at any time and I can refund your spirit stones. You must give her back to me. Emo calmed his tone and said, So you're saying that after the first part of the deal, you must agree for the second part to proceed? Am I not allowed to disagree? Or do I have to make the second part of the deal? Is this coercion? Pang Ming said coldly, It's up to you if you want to do the second part of the deal. You can disagree. I'm not forcing you to agree. But if you agree, then I get to decide your cultivation woman again. Pang Ming sneered because he knew that Emo needed him for the second part of the deal. Otherwise, the cultivation woman would die for sure. He bought this cultivation woman with his spirit stones, and he knew her. There was no way he was willing to let her die. Emo ignored this fat man and saluted with his fists to the manager. Manager, from the start to the end, I've never asked to do the second part of the deal, but this man is forcing me to do the second part of the deal and wants to take back my cultivation woman. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance formation or ask people around here. I want to ask. Just then this fat man said the second part of the deal is up to me. Since he knows this, why is he forcing me to do the second part of the deal? The manager suddenly glared coldly at Pang Ming. Is that the case? Pang Ming shivered. He thought that Emo would definitely do the second part of the deal, but instead he didn't mention it at all. If Emo would rather let the cultivation woman die and lose 7 million than agree to the second part of the deal, then he would have dug a hole for himself. He couldn't deny what he did, so he could only nod. Yes, but manager, he must. Emo sneered again. I get to decide what to do with this cultivation woman. Why should I do the second part of the deal? I never wanted to do it. Pang Ming's heart sunk. This cultivator's heart was so cruel and tough. The reality was in front of him, and he couldn't make an excuse for himself. He could only bow to Emo. I didn't know you didn't intend to do the second part of the deal, friend. It's my fault. I apologize. Emo ignored him and saluted with his fists to the manager. Manager, if you didn't come over, I would have been taken away because I didn't want to do the second part of the deal. And the cultivation woman I bought would be taken away for no reason. I believe in High City. I believe the city will give me justice. A sliver of a glare flashed across this disaster transformation state cultivator's eyes. He scanned Emo and said, I understand the specific situation now. The city will deal with the 2 law enforcers. As for this person who forced you to do the second part of the deal, you can make 2 requests that don't hurt his life. Emo immediately said, Yes, thank you, manager. You indeed do things with justice. I came to the right city. Then, Emo looked coldly at Pang Ming. My first request is compensation. The 11 cultivation women here are a little lacking, but it's barely enough. I want them whole. Pang Ming heard this and looked fearfully at the manager. The manager said expressionlessly, "Yes, remove their restrictions immediately and give them to this customer." Before Pang Ming could reply, another cultivator outside the circle came in and bowed. "Yes, manager, Mo Quan will do this immediately." It was a disaster transformation state peak stage cultivator. He removed the 11 cultivation women's restrictions and brought them to Mo friend. "How about I remove the restriction of the cultivation woman you bought before and complete the deal?" Mo sneered. He dared to play such little tricks. Mo waved his hand. "No need. I can do whatever I want with the cultivation woman I bought. Outsiders don't need to intervene." He grasped the reason of the forced second part of the deal. If he agreed now, his reason would be no more. Killing intent flashed across his eyes, but the middle stage, peak stage, didn't say anything and left. The manager nodded and asked, "What's your second request?" Mo said, "Thank you, manager. My second request is to slap this Pang Ming who dared to scam me." The manager nodded without care. "Without the order of the city lord, no one is allowed to kill. You understand this, right?" Mo quickly said, "Yes, manager, I won't kill. I'm a foreign cultivator. I don't dare to kill in High City. I'm just slapping him, at most making him spit blood. If he didn't scam me so hard before, I wouldn't make such a request." Some people already began to feel sorry for Pang Ming, just from how he got 11 cultivation women back instead. This slap wouldn't be simple. Pang Ming broke into a cold sweat, looking at the disaster transformation state peak stage seeking help, but the disaster transformation state peak stage didn't seem to see this. "Hurry up and slap him," the manager said. Mo heard this and went up without hesitation, slapping Pang Ming's chest. People saw Pang Ming didn't seem to move, but his eyes became more dazed. The manager looked at Mo and thought this cultivator was so vile. A foreign cultivator dared to do things to this extreme. He was this young and powerful. Clearly he had no simple origin. Then the manager said to the two cauldron-filling state, "Go receive your punishment in the law enforcer hall." The two shivered and replied, "Yes, manager." The manager glanced coldly at Mo before disappearing. At this moment, Pang Ming woke up from his daze and pointed at Mo shakily. You destroyed my Dantian." Then Pang Ming spat blood again as he fell to the ground in a spasm. Pang Ming was done for. This was worse than killing him. Some cultivators looked at Mo fearfully. A foreign cultivator dared to use such extreme means. He greatly offended the manager. Insha looked at Mo coldly, but he was shocked. He didn't expect Mo to be this cruel, but clearly, he had offended the manager. How could Mo not know this? But he didn't care. He was about to leave immediately. Mo took Guang Wei and the 11 female cultivators and left the hall. When they came outside, Mo stopped and looked at the 11 cultivation women. "You all have nascent soul state or hollow spirit state power. I can't take you guys away now, so I'll give you guys a few flying magic artifacts and you can run yourself." Mo took Guang Wei and the 11 female cultivators and left the hall. When they came outside, Mo stopped and looked at the 11 cultivation women. "You all have nascent soul state or hollow spirit state power. I can't take you guys away now, so I'll give you guys a few flying magic artifacts and you can run yourself." "Qian Bei, you're not going to use us as cultivation women?" One pink-dressed hollow spirit state primary stage heard Mo's words and asked shakily. Mo smiled. "Do you think I'm someone who needs cultivation women? I can't bring you guys with me in High City. As for whether you can live or not, it's up to your fortune." The 11 cultivation women didn't believe this was real at all. After Mo and Guang Wei and Ming Xian disappeared, they realized that they didn't even thank Mo. When they wanted to chase up, Mo was already gone. The pink female cultivator first reacted and asked an older yellow-robed female cultivator, "Sister Sinew, what should we do now?" She bowed in Mo's direction first before saying, "If we leave in High City now, we'll be dead for sure. But if we stay here, it's very safe. I heard this city often holds an exchange social, so we'll wait for one to come, and when it ends, we'll leave with those who came here. Then I can send a message to my sect and ask for help." The rest of the girls also agreed. Mo was helpless. That was indeed all he could do. He couldn't allow these female cultivator to be ruined in the dual cultivation hotel. He also hoped that if one of his friends or family fell in such a situation, there would be someone to help them like that. He helped Ming-Chi thinking the same thing. He hoped that if Yimo was in trouble, there would be a cultivator to help like him. Yimo and Guangwei brought Ming-Xian back to the hotel and introduced them to everyone else. Tung Yi and Bian Fengtao weren't at the hotel. Ming Hanan said they were adamant on searching for news about the Kuren scale, so they went out. After the people had a talk, Yimo set up a few more restrictions before letting everyone sit down. Marshal Brother Yi, what do we do about the restriction on my master? Guangwei asked. Ming-Xian waved her hand and said shakily, Yimo, thank you. If you and Guangwei didn't come, I don't even know what would have happened. I'm not afraid of the restriction. I'm afraid that I won't even be able to die when I want to. Yimo signaled Ming-Xian to sit down. He wasn't afraid of even truth realization state restrictions. His 3-birth chant could even give birth to cultivation methods, much less restrictions. Plus, Yimo knew her restriction was just placed by a disaster transformation state cultivator. Ming-Xian Qianbei, if you trust me, I can help you remove the restriction, Yimo said. Ming-Xian said firmly, help me, I trust you. Yimo held Ming-Xian's hand and checked her meridians. He immediately had an understanding of this restriction. In less than 8 minutes, Yimo completely removed her restriction and let her recover her power. Feeling cultivation essence come back to her body again, Ming-Xian immediately got up and thanked Yimo excitedly. Other than gratitude, she felt more shock. It was very hard to remove a restriction you didn't place, and yet Yimo removed hers easily. She didn't even have any hope to remove it, but Yimo actually easily allowed her to recover. Yimo took out some storage rings, giving one to Ming-Xian and another to Guangwei while saying, go get a change of clothes and then we can talk. Ming-Xian nodded and took the storage ring before getting up with Guangwei. Yimo then said, there are 2 face-preserving pills as well? Face-preserving pills? Guangwei and Ming-Xian looked at Yimo in shock. Ming Hanan also said this and looked at Ming-Xian and Guangwei in envy. Face-preserving pill. Which woman didn't want to keep her youthful look forever? A woman valued her looks more than her life. Yimo nodded. Yes, but it was made by me 20 years ago, so it doesn't look very good. Guangwei held the storage ring excitedly and wanted to go try immediately. Ming-Xian looked gratefully at Yimo again and didn't say anything. She took Guangwei inside to shower and change. Yimo looked back at Ming Hanan and also took out a jade bottle. There's one more here, it's yours. Ming Hanan took the bottle from Yimo and quickly said, perfect. I've been looking for one for decades, but now I really got one. Thank you, Yimo. Yimo smiled. Sister Ming helped me so much. I haven't thanked you yet. A mere face-preserving pill is nothing. Ji Ling looked at Yimo and shook his head. You have so many good things on you. When you were at the Pill King tournament, I even wanted to ask for a rare flame for you from Lu Qianbei, but it seems I underestimated you. Yimo smiled. Ji Qianbei, do you want one too? Unexpectedly, Ji Ling nodded. Yes, I'll have one. My granddaughter must be really worried about me this time. I can give one to her. I don't need one for myself. Yimo took out a prepared storage ring and gave it to Ji Ling, Ji Qianbei. Here are some things I've prepared and some of my formation experience. It's yours now, Qianbei. Ji Ling nodded and took it. He knew Yimo was wealthy, and he didn't need to be too polite with Yimo. Soon, Ming-Xian and Guangwei came out. Ming-Xian's face hadn't recovered yet. Clearly, she hadn't eaten the pill yet. Yimo asked, Ming-Xian Qianbei, what happened? And before you came to Heartless Sea, do you know about Peihai City's MOU? Ming-Xian thought and said, you probably know who the #1 solo cultivator in North Far State is, right? Yimo nodded. Yes, Ling Zhongtian, Disaster Transformation State Peak Stage Power. It's said he's the strongest in North Far State. Ming-Xian nodded. That's right, there are 3 great disaster transformation state cultivators in North Far State. Wang Yu Sex Shan Fei, Jade Woman Sex Tang Mengrao, and then Ling Zhongtian. They're all disaster transformation state, but Ling Zhongtian is the strongest. I heard he's near truth realization state cultivator, and he can fight people at higher levels than him. Even truth realization state primary stage cultivators won't be able to beat him. Yimo had a pretty good impression of Ling Zhongtian, whether it was seeing his temperament at the herb plane or due to Su Changji's relationship with him. Ming Xian said, I have a disciple called Qin Muxin, you know, right? Yimo quickly said, yes, I know martial sister Muxin. I saw her at South Peace State. She's now South Peace State's 8-star sect Heartless Valley's core disciple. Huh, you saw Muxin at South Peace State? Ming Xian got up excitedly, and so did Guang Wei. Huh, you saw Muxin at South Peace State? Ming Xian got up excitedly, and so did Guang Wei. Yimo let the two sit down before saying, yes, Ming Xian Qianbei. She's doing very well now and is a level 1 pill king. You don't need to worry for her? That's good, that's good. It's so good to join 8-star sect, Ming Xian said and then sunk down in her chair. She wasn't fortunate enough to be your wife. Yimo felt awkward and didn't know what to say, but luckily Ming Xian thought of something and said in shock, that's right, I heard you went to South Peace State. Yimo replied, yes, Qianbei. I came from South Peace State and I'm planning to cross the Heartless Sea. I met martial sister Guang Wei on the way. You're really crossing the Heartless Sea. Ming Xian murmured and then stared at Yimo. What's your cultivation level? Yimo was scared about talking about his cultivation as his progress was too abnormal. Ordinary people couldn't comprehend it. But now that Ming Xian asked, he could only reply, I'm cauldron filling state level 6. Ming Xian heard this and after a long while, she sighed, Yimo, I knew you were a prodigy before, but you far exceeded what I expected. Cauldron filling state level 6. This is rare in the entire North Far State, and yet you're so young. I feel like I've been wasting my life compared to you. Ming Xian paused and said, Yimo, don't call me Qianbei anymore. Your power is much higher than mine. Call me Ming Xian or Sister Ming Xian. Yimo smiled. I call Mu Xian and Guang Wei martial sister. If I called you sister, things would be messy. I'll still call you Qianbei. Plus, I have a different view than others. Just because power is higher doesn't mean you're a Qianbei. Guang Wei was shocked even more. When she first saw Yimo, he was only Foundation Establishment State, and she even saw when he formed his Golden Core. Yimo's Golden Core was above the 9 grades, and her big martial sister said Yimo's future was boundless. Now it really did seem so. Ming Xian hesitated and nodded. Okay then. Yimo saw that she didn't ask about other things, so he asked, Ming Xian Qianbei, you talked about the 3 disaster transformation state cultivators and Muxin martial sister. What happened? Ming Xian answered, the reason Ming Xian could go to South Peace State is because of 8-star sect Jade Woman Sect's Tang Mengrao's recommendation. Tang Qianbei saw Muxin and believed she was a pill concoction prodigy. It was such a waste for her to stay at North Far State, so she recommended her to go South Peace State. Then, Ming Xian sighed, in the North Far State, the 3 disaster transformation states were the foundation pillars, but the usually united 3 disaster transformation states one day fought with each other. Why? Yimo heard this and asked in shock. Ming Xian shook her head. I don't know specifically, but it was over a woman. Tang Mengrao Qianbei and Shanfei Qianbei fought with Ling Zihongtian Qianbei. It's said that the battle was so intense that a few mountains were destroyed. That battle went on for a few days and eventually, both sides were injured. It's said that Ling Zhongtian Qianbei took a woman and she was from the Jade Woman sect. My status was too low, and I didn't dare to ask who it was. Yimo frowned and said, Ming Xian Qianbei, tell me first what happened afterwards. Ming Xian continued. After Ling Zhongtian Qianbei left, he disappeared and no one heard from him again. But soon after, things happened in North Far State. The Beast Tide appeared not only at Broken Leaf City, but also Pei Hai City. Usually they come and go, but this time they didn't go and had more numbers and powers. Ling Zhongtian wasn't there, and those solo cultivator couldn't unite to fend off the spirit beasts. Shanfei Qianbei and Tang Mengrao Qianbei went separately to Broken Leaf City and Pei Hai City despite their heavy injuries. Yimo's heart sunk. Jingwen and them were all at Pei Hai City. He asked desperately, Ming Xian Qianbei, Pei Hai City was also attacked? Ming Xian nodded. Yes, Tang Mengrao Qianbei went to Pei Hai City. We followed her there to help her, but there were disaster transformation state beast cultivators in that beast tide, and more than 10 level 9 spirit beasts. Although many North Far State cultivators want to help, there were too many. Was Pei High City broken in? Yimo asked anxiously. Ming Xian shook her head. When I left, it wasn't. A powerful cultivator came and stopped the beast tide. I didn't see clearly, but that powerful cultivator seemed on par with Tang Mingrao Qian Bei. Yimo breathed easy and then asked, You left? Ming Xian replied, Yes, although Tang Mingrao Qian Bei was heavily injured. She was in the middle of the battle constantly. Her injuries got worse and worse. A lot of cultivators from Jade Woman's sect died. There were only me and 2 disciples following Tang Qianbei and a few solo cultivators. Seeing that she was about to die, we wanted to take her to escape. During our escape, my sect's Lu Yueting also disappeared. Eventually, we had nowhere to go, so we went into the Heartless Sea. Ming Xian sighed. Although Guang Wei and I got away, we were heavily injured. We could only find an island to recover. We stayed a few months on that island with arid spirit qi before recovering. Then, we went to find Tang Qianbei, but we lost our direction. We just wandered around for another 3 years, but we still didn't find our direction. We decided to stop by an island and cultivate while we thought of a way. Yimo sighed. Ming Xian was only Hollow Spirit State Tertiary Stage, and Guang Wei was worse, Golden Core State Level 9. It was extremely fortunate that nothing happened to them in those years in the Heartless Sea. Ming Xian said, Before we could find an island to stay on, we were captured by beast cultivators. They wanted to rape us, but when they saw we were both virgins and our talent was good, they changed their mind. They knew they would get much better profit by selling us. Guang Wei looked down in embarrassment when Ming Xian said this. Then you and Martial Sister Guang Wei were brought to High City? Yimo asked. Ming Xian nodded. They spent about half a year to reach High City. Then you know what happened. Yimo's face went bad. He had a good impression of Ling Zhongtian and the Wang Yu sect's Shan Fei. He was recommended to South Peace State by Shan Fei. Although he gave them the spirit recovery pill, Shan Fei also protected Mou and set a hollow spirit state cultivator there. Yimo's face went bad. He had a good impression of Ling Zhongtian and the Wang Yu sect's Shan Fei. He was recommended to South Peace State by Shan Fei. Although he gave them the spirit recovery pill, Shan Fei also protected Mou and set a hollow spirit state cultivator there. However, it didn't matter to him why they fought. He was worried about Mou, Song Yangzhu, Yiling, Song Yangzhu, and the rest. Ming Hanan suddenly asked. Sister Ming Xian said that the 3 most powerful people in North Far State all got injured, and then the spirit beast attacked. Could there be some shenanigans there? Yimo also felt this thing was very dodgy, but he hadn't gone back to North Far State and couldn't be sure if someone plotted this. Ming Xian wanted to comfort Yimo upon seeing his worried face, but Yimo suddenly asked, Ming Xian Qianbei, that means when you left Pei High City, it was about 4 or 5 years ago? Ming Xian nodded. Yes, it's indeed been almost 5 years. Yimo was at a loss. 5 years. So much could happen in 5 years. He set up a teleportation formation at Mou and could only hope that if Pei High City was really broken into, they would be able to leave through that. Ming Xian said again, Yimo, don't worry. When I left, a powerful being came and humans gradually had the upper hand. As soon as they got the upper hand, countless cultivators would flock to help. Yimo sighed. He could only think like that. Ming Xian said gratefully again, Yimo, thank you for giving me this many pills. Yimo nodded. Ming Xian Qianbei, if you don't want to stay in North Far State, you can come back with us to South Peace State this time. Ming Xian heard this and didn't say anything. After a long while, she responded, I can't go. I have a mortal herb valley. If you can take someone away, then take Guang Wei. Her talent is really good. It's a waste for her to stay in North Far State. Guang Wei's eyes went red and just wanted to say something when Yimo got up and opened the restriction of the room. Teng Yi and Bian Fengta came back looking excited. Yimo looked at the two and asked, You two seem very happy? Teng Yi laughed. It's because we heard about the Kuan scale. It's really here, but it's in the City Lord estate. Each year it would be taken out for show, but it's not for sale. Bian Fengta said, Every year, the City Lord Estate would hold a cultivation resource trade social. Before the social, the City Lord would show the Kuan scale to everyone. There are about 3 months till the social. We can stay here for 3 months. Yemo was thinking about Pei High City, but even without it, he wasn't going to stay here for 3 months. He felt very uncomfortable here. We can't stay here for 3 months, Menghanan suddenly said. She also felt very uncomfortable here. Yemo nodded. Indeed, we must leave here immediately. Then, he said again, I want to visit the City Lord of High City. Regardless if I can get the scale, I must try. You want to visit the City Lord? Tungi immediately waved his hand. You don't need to go. You won't be able to see him at all. It's said he's very powerful and doesn't see guests. How can you see him? How would I know if I don't try? If I really can't, we'll leave the sea immediately, Yemo said. Menghanan suddenly said, Martial Brother Yi, I'll come with you. Yemo nodded. Let's go now then. As soon as they walked out, Menghanan said, Yemo, if you have a mortal curl flower, you might really be able to get the Kuan scale. Yemo shook his head. He only had one last immortal curl flower. He wasn't going to swap it. Perhaps this was the last one in the entire cultivation realm. Menghanan sighed. She knew it was probably impossible to get the Kuan scale without something like the immortal curl flower. The City Lord Estate was right in the middle of the city. It was grand and luxurious. There was a huge square in front of it. The square was covered in blue spirit bricks, filling the place with spirit chi while making it seem royal. Yemo thought of Bright Moon City when he saw this city. When they came to the border of the square, they were stopped by 2 body condensation state cultivators. Stop. This is the City Lord Estate. No one is allowed to come near. Otherwise, we have orders to kill. Menghanan thought Yemo would make the 2 body condensation state go report and then go in, but Yemo just took out a jade slip and gave it to the body condensation state. Give this jade slip to the City Lord. It's very important to him. Of course, you can choose to not give it, but if you can be responsible for that, you can do it. Then, Yemo came to the border of the square and didn't wait for the 2 to respond. Menghanan looked at Yemo in confusion. Yemo, are you sure just a jade slip is fine? What should we do? Should we leave now? Yemo proposed. Let's go to the Spirit Rest Tower ahead for 2 hours. If he still doesn't come, then we'll leave immediately. The 2 guards looked at each other. After a while, the body condensation state said, What should we do? Should we chase up and give it back to him? The other cultivator shook his head. Even if we give it to him, if it's something the City Lord needs, we won't get away with it. But we don't have the power to give it to the City Lord. The cultivators were so desperate they were about to cry. At this moment, a cold voice sounded, Bring the jade slip in. The 2 heard this voice and were shaken, but they quickly reacted and bowed. We greet City Lord. Then, the 2 quickly passed the square and went into the City Lord Estate. Yemo and Menghanan quickly came to the Spirit Rest Tower and opened a room. They went in and didn't talk. Menghanan glanced at Yemo and didn't say anything. She felt Yemo seemed more troubled after he left the square. Her guess was right. Yemo was a level 9 formation grandmaster. He wasn't a top level 9 formation grandmaster, but it was impossible for ordinary formations to trick his eyes. Knowing this, he still saw a huge formation outside the City Lord Estate. It wasn't a spirit gathering formation nor defense one. It was a refining formation. Yemo felt that High City was like a small world, and now he saw a refining formation. He immediately knew that someone was trying to spirit control the small world. If the High City was really a small world, and if it was spirit controlled, then even a single grass fate would be controlled. Thinking about this, Yemo broke out in a cold sweat. What if the City Lord invited all the powerful people in the 4 states to the city and closed off the small world? If the High City was really a small world, and if it was spirit controlled, then even a single grass fate would be controlled. Thinking about this, Yemo broke out in a cold sweat. What if the City Lord invited all the powerful people in the 4 states to the city and closed off the small world? Thinking about this, Yemo felt it was very possible. The City Lord held the social every year. Who knew if he would have a big one after he spirit controlled the small world? To other cultivators, In High City was indeed very safe and fair. With this, if they held a huge social, how many cultivators would come? Yemo didn't dare to imagine. Yemo understood now why the High City had such a good reputation. It was intentional. If this was the case, then this city lord was too scary. But why did he not spirit control this place even after a few thousand years? Yemo knew he couldn't discuss this with Menghanan. They had to leave first. Yemo and Menghanan didn't wait very long. After they just drank their first cup of spirit tea, a middle-aged cultivator came with a pale-faced man following behind him. He seemed like a ghost behind him. The middle-aged man set up a restriction before looking at Yemo calmly. You went to the city lord estate to find me? Do you know the consequences if your jade slip contains lies? Yemo felt a powerful pressure as soon as this man came. This man definitely was the city lord Su, but Yemo didn't expect him to be such a handsome man. He seemed only about in his 30s. His black hair casually landed on his shoulder. His body had good ratios too. He seemed like the perfect man. Even Menghanan was amazed by his looks. But what put Yemo on alert was that Su was truth realization state level 9, and his power was no weaker than Lu Wuhu. Yemo got up and saluted with his fists. Wanbei knows City Lord is very busy. I don't dare to trick you at all. City Lord, please have a seat, and you too. The middle-aged man saw that Yemo called himself Wanbei, but didn't seem to act like one at all, and was a little surprised, but he nodded and sat down. However, that ghost-like person behind him remained standing. Menghanan helped Su pour 2 cups of spirit tea and also bowed. Wanbei Menghanan greets City Lord and this master. Su looked at Menghanan and nodded before looking at Yemo again. Yemo took out a jade bottle and gave it to Su, saying, City Lord, please have a look. This is the thing I mentioned in the jade slip. I know this thing is very precious, but I don't dare to guess how precious it is. Su took the jade bottle and opened it. His face changed immediately. He sniffed it before covering it in shock and looked at Yemo in disbelief. This really is 10,000-year stalagmite marrow, a level 10 spirit medicine, and there are 10 drops here. Where did you get this? Su rejoiced that he had come. Everyone knew about it, but it was too rare in the cultivation realm. It could not only repair spirit sense and soul, but also give birth to spirit roots. Those who couldn't cultivate could develop spirit roots by using it. Menghanan also looked at Yemo in disbelief. She thought the most precious thing on Yemo was a mortal curlflower, but there was this too. She really couldn't distinguish which was more valuable. You wouldn't show this to me for no reason. Tell me, what do you want? Su frowned but didn't give back the stalagmite marrow. Yemo immediately saluted with his fists. City Lord, the thing Wanbei wants is only owned by you. Tell me. Su frowned. He felt that the thing Yemo wanted wouldn't be simple, or he wouldn't take out the 1,000-year stalagmite marrow. Yemo nodded. Wanbei heard City Lord has a Kuan scale, so I want it. Would you be able to give it to me? Hearing this, Su's eyes flashed with a sliver of bleakness. He stared coldly at Yemo and asked, Do you think 10 drops of the stalagmite marrow can trade for the Kuan scale? Plus, even if I give it to you, you think you can keep it? Menghanan's heart sunk. She believed the 10 drops were very precious and it wasn't impossible to trade for the Kuan scale. The city lord said this, clearly meaning that he didn't want to trade with Yemo. Yemo immediately showed a horrified look and saluted with his fists. Wanbei doesn't know the value of the Kuan scale. I thought 10 drops of the stalagmite marrow would be able to trade for it. Wanbei was too ignorant. Please forgive me, city lord. Luckily this is the High City, or else Wanbei's actions would be too outrageous. Hearing this, the city lord's face eased up a little. No matter, you didn't trick me on your jade slip after all. Although High City doesn't dare to compare power with South Peace State's Pill City, it's the #1 fair place. Yemo immediately said, Thank you, city lord. Wanbei won't waste your time anymore. Before the city lord could nod, Yemo went to grab the stalagmite marrow while smirking inside. 10 drops couldn't trade for a Kuan scale? Who was this guy tricking? Of course, if that Kuan scale belonged to a mature Kuan, then even thousands of drops wouldn't be as valuable as it. But Menghanan said the Kuan was a newborn and was only a level 7 spirit beast. The stalagmite marrow was Yemo's, and the city lord couldn't stop Yemo from taking back his own thing, so he could only put it down awkwardly on the table and let Yemo take it. Menghanan suddenly understood why Yemo saw the city lord here. It was a public place. Even if the city lord wanted it, he couldn't rob it, or the reputation of justice and fairness the city had set up for countless years would disappear. Menghanan admired Yemo greatly now. If they really went into the city lord estate, then even if they never came back out, it wouldn't cause much drama. The city lord suddenly said, "How long do you plan to stay in the city?" 3 months later, there will be a huge social, and there will be many precious things there. Although they might not be as precious as the Kuan scale, they will be very rare. Yemo laughed in self-mockery. "I probably can't stay here for 3 months. I'm actually a level 9 spirit pill master. I'm planning to go back to the hotel and concoct the stalagmite marrow into spirit root purifying pill and then sell it before I leave." Hearing this, Insu's face changed immediately. He didn't expect Yemo to waste it like that. A level 9 spirit pill master dared to use it for pill concoction? Wait. Seeing that Yemo was going to leave, Insu called him back. He didn't trade, but that didn't mean he didn't want the stalagmite marrow. If this idiot used it for pill concoction, how could he get it? Yemo sneered. He knew the value of the stalagmite marrow wasn't cheaper than the Kuan scale. Yemo sneered. He knew the value of the stalagmite marrow wasn't cheaper than the Kuan scale. This guy asked how long he was planning to stay in here so he would attack once he left the city. But Yemo wasn't going to do things according to his will. He said he was going to waste it. He didn't believe Insu would be able to hold his temper. If he could do even that, Yemo could only stay in the city and not dare to go out. Because if he went out, he would die. Yemo had a very clear sixth sense from cultivating the 3-birth chant. He saw there was no luck here when he saw Insu. He either succeeded or died here. Now that Insu stopped him, Yemo quickly saluted with his fists. "Shinbei, do you have any other orders?" Insu nodded. "Yes, it's too much of a waste to use the 10,000-year stalagmite marrow to concoct level 9 spirit pills. It's not as valuable as the Kuan scale, but it's very rare." Even Menghanan could tell that Insu wanted to trade for the 10,000-year stalagmite marrow but couldn't find an excuse. The city lord had to trade it with Yemo now, since he knew Yemo was going to waste it as soon as he got back. Yemo took out another sha fruit and said, "City lord, I suddenly remembered I have a level 9 spirit fruit. If I use both of them to trade, would you be willing to?" "It's actually level 9 spirit fruit sha fruit?" Insu looked at Yemo in shock again. Just how many good things did this young cultivator have? Menghanan was more speechless. Every time Yemo took out something, it was something she didn't expect. Even if he was going to give Insu away to trade, he didn't need to give something this precious. "Great, we can trade now. The Kuan scale is very precious, but what you give me is more important." Insu took out a red jade box and gave it to Yemo. Yemo gave the sha fruit and stalagmite marrow over without hesitation. The sha fruit wasn't completely mature, but it was still a level 9 spirit fruit. Yemo did this so Insu would have no other excuses. Yemo took the jade box excitedly and saluted with his fists to Insu. "Thank you, City Lord. Wanbei will be leaving now." He didn't even open the jade box and took Menghanan to leave immediately. "There's a restriction on the jade box. How do you know it's the Kuan scale inside?" Menghanan immediately asked. Yemo said heavily, "I was sure it is as soon as I got it. Plus, he won't be cheating me on this. It doesn't suit his identity." Menghanan nodded and said worriedly, "But I think that City Lord..." Yemo waved to her. "Let's talk when we get back." How could he not know that the City Lord wanted to kill him? It was so obvious, whether it was for the 10,000-year stalagmite marrow or the level 9 spirit herb. Plus, he now had the Kuan scale. Yemo was certain that Insu wouldn't let him leaving High City with the Kuan scale. He needed it to attract all sorts of cultivators to come here and settle or trade. But for Yemo, it was fine as long as he had the Kuan scale. As soon as Yemo left, Insu looked at the jade bottle and the fruit for a long while before saying coldly, "I didn't expect a mere cauldron-filling state cultivator would have this many good things. Just how many more secrets does he have to be able to reach cauldron-filling state in 100 years? The shadow-like figure behind him suddenly said, Master, why trade with him? We can just find an excuse to kick him out of the city and I'll go kill them. Simple. Insu shook his head. If we kick away a cultivator for no reason, it would cause drama. Plus, I'm only lending it to him for a few days. My spirit sense mark is on there. If he touches it, I will know. That cultivator definitely has a lot of secrets. He might leave the city. Keep a close eye on him. If he leaves, then follow immediately. Even if we send 2 truth realization states, I want you to bring his secrets back to High City. Yes, Master, the shadow answered. As soon as Emo and Ming Hanan came back, the rest of the people came up. How was it? Did the city lord show you the Kuan scale? Tengyi asked. Emo nodded. I'll let Sister Ming tell you. Ji Qianbei, I need to go into solitary cultivation now. Set up restrictions on this hotel. Don't allow any spirit sense to come in. Before I come out, don't leave the hotel. As soon as I come out, we'll leave immediately. Hearing this, everyone agreed. Emo went inside his room and set up a few restrictions before going into the Golden Page world. It was dangerous to go in the Golden Page world here, but he couldn't care about it. After coming back from the square, he knew that the city lord hadn't completely spirit-controlled the High City. With Jiling Qianbei and his restrictions, it would be enough to stop the spirit sense or a truth realization state peak stage cultivator. As soon as Emo went into the Golden Page world, he suddenly felt uneasy, but he shook his head as he couldn't find the problem. He took out the red box immediately and saw the hidden spirit sense mark on there. Emo carefully opened it and saw a palm-sized scale. It was faint blue. This was indeed the Kuan scale. The next moment, Emo took out Blue Moon. Although he was just a level 3 forgery grandmaster and could only forge low-grade cultivation artifacts, he didn't plan to completely integrate the scale into Blue Moon. He only needed it to upgrade Blue Moon's quality. Emo didn't hope for a mortal artifact, but a half-immortal artifact should be fine. He would fully integrate the scale into Blue Moon when he was a level 7 forgery grandmaster or later. Emo also planned to add in a few bitter bamboo leaves. Then, Emo released the Mist Lotus Heartfire, but before he started to melt the Kuan scale, he felt something was wrong and put away the Mist Lotus Heartfire. Moments later, he spotted a very small spirit sense mark. He was shocked. If he clumsily molded the scale into Blue Moon and didn't find this spirit sense mark, it would mean that Insu would know wherever he went. There was a restriction covering the spirit sense mark. If he touched the scale, then Insu would immediately know. Thinking about this, Emo came out of the Golden Page world immediately and wiped the sweat from his head. If Insu couldn't sense his spirit sense mark, would he come to this hotel immediately? That was highly possible. He couldn't risk that. Luckily, he was a level 9 formation grandmaster. He carefully peeled off that restriction and then put the spirit sense mark and the restriction into the blue lightning source bead he got from Tian Alfeng. Then, he put the bead back into the red box and breathed easy. He checked the scale many times over and made sure there was no spirit sense mark before going into his Golden Page world. Meanwhile, he left that jade box in his room. Emo didn't know that when he went into the Golden Page world, Insu immediately felt his spirit sense mark disappear. He frowned and was about to do something, but he noticed the spirit sense mark again. Insu sat down but wanted to catch Emo, this insect cultivator, even more. He wanted to know all of Emo's secrets. After going in the Golden Page world, Emo didn't have that feeling of unease anymore. He immediately knew that the feeling was caused by the jade box. If he didn't send that jade box out, perhaps Insu would be at the hotel already. After going in the Golden Page world, Emo didn't have that feeling of unease anymore. He immediately knew that the feeling was caused by the jade box. If he didn't send that jade box out, perhaps Insu would be at the hotel already. Emo released the Mist Lotus Heartfire, and this time he threw the scale in. He thought that Mist Lotus Heartfire was a heaven flame and red-colored, so it would be able to mold the scale. But 8 minutes later, Emo was disappointed. The scale only melted a little bit. With this speed, he would need a few days to melt it, and that was just the first step. How many days would he need to fuse it with Blue Moon? Soon, Emo realized that time wasn't even the problem. If his fire melted the scale this slowly, he wouldn't be able to fuse. This was the simplest method in forgery. Realizing this, the reason he wasn't scared of Insu was because he was a forgery grandmaster. If he got the Kuan scale, he could mold it into his Blue Moon. Once Blue Moon was a half-immortal artifact, even truth realization state cultivators wouldn't be able to catch up to him. However, the reality was that his Mist Lotus Heart Fire wasn't enough to mold the Kuan scale. Emo felt very annoyed. His brain operated rapidly to think of a way out. If he didn't deal with the City Lord, he really wasn't scared of those disaster transformation state cultivator, but he was facing truth realization state cultivators now. Emo couldn't think of any other way other than upgrading Blue Moon. In order to do that, he needed to mold the scale, but other than upgrading his Heaven Flame, there was no other way. Thinking about the Mist Lotus Heart Fire, Emo remembered he still had a Flame Lotus Heart. It was given to him by Lu Wu-Hu, and he hadn't used it. Emo immediately took it out and felt its scorching heat. Without the need for Emo to do anything, the Mist Lotus Heart Fire had already swept it away. Emo looked satisfiedly and believed his Heaven Flame would be able to reach green color this time. But Emo was soon disappointed. The Flame Lotus Heart was devoured rapidly, but his Mist Motu's Lotus Heart Fire only became a little darker. It was still red. Emo took out the Kuan scale. It melted faster but wasn't enough to upgrade Blue Moon. Emo put down the Kuan scale dejectedly while thinking how he could upgrade Mist Lotus Heart Fire. He took out all the ores Ming Hanan gave him and put them in front. He was planning to test them all to see which material would be useful for the Mist Lotus Heart Fire. Soon, Emo was surprised to see his Mist Lotus Heart Fire lean towards a blue ore. Emo immediately remembered that it was the ore he got from the Chu 18 discs. It was a little hot, and he felt it would benefit him at the time. Now, Emo realized it would benefit the Mist Lotus Heart Fire. Emo took it over immediately, and it was soon swept into the Mist Lotus Heart Fire. The Mist Lotus Heart Fire exploded after devouring that blue ore. The heat rose drastically. Emo felt the flame getting hotter and hotter. Emo was shook. He had already spirit-controlled Mist Lotus Heart Fire. How could he feel the heat? Soon, Emo felt that he was slowly losing control of the Mist Lotus Heart Fire. It was as though it was going to fly out of his hands. Emo knew things weren't good. He quickly burnt some blood and used 3 birth chant to control the Mist Lotus Heart Fire. Luckily, bad things didn't happen and the flame gradually calmed down. Moments later, the Mist Lotus Heart Fire started to show a green color. After another 15 minutes, the flames turned aqua. 15 minutes later, when Emo saw the flame turn into a blue color, he was astonished. He realized what the blue ore did. It could upgrade any rare flame into a blue color. Such a terrifying ore. This was the rare treasure of the world. Emo was sure that the blue ore was much more valuable than the Kuan scale. Many people thought it was hard getting a rare flame, but it was much harder to upgrade it. If it was below red color, it wasn't too bad, but after red, it would be countless times harder. Yet this blue ore could upgrade his Mist Lotus Heart Fire to blue color. It was too absurd. Emo couldn't think of an ore that was this powerful. Not even a level 10 ore would be able to do that. Emo rejoiced that he made the decision to take the ore. It was perfect for him. Half a day later, the Mist Lotus Heart Fire had calmed down and a water blue flame jumped around on his palm. Emo was surprised and overjoyed. He could feel the terrifying power of the Mist Lotus Heart Fire. He felt he could even use it to attack a truth realization state cultivator. Mist Lotus Heart Fire now gave him endless hope. He admired the flame for 15 minutes before taking out a few materials to test. They all soon melted into liquid. Emo used very little spirit sense and cultivation essence to control it. Usually, it would take him a day to forge a low-grade cultivation artifact, but now it only took him 4 hours. Plus, aesthetically speaking, it was much prettier than before. With the Mist Lotus Heart Fire's upgrade, Emo's forgery skills and pill concoction both improved. Putting this newly forged low-grade cultivation artifact aside, Emo took out the Kuan scale and threw it into the flame. Now, the scale melted rapidly. In just moments, it was done. Yemo quickly took out Blue Moon and molded the scale into it while throwing out hand signs and inscribing formations. He couldn't completely mold the scale into Blue Moon, but just partially was enough for now. 3 days later, the Kurin scale was gone and Blue Moon let out a phoenix-like howl. It seemed a little more alive. Yemo was overjoyed. In order to better control Blue Moon, he started to spirit control it again. A day later, Yemo got up. Blue Moon was now a half-immortal artifact. He desperately wanted to test its speed. A big part of his plan had succeeded. He only needed to hide Blue Moon's chi and then leaving High City. Yemo heard that a mortal artifact would have divine damnation when completed, but he didn't see any divine damnation. It was probably due to the incomplete laws of his world. Second, he didn't completely mold the Kuin scale in. Yemo heard that a mortal artifact would have divine damnation when completed, but he didn't see any divine damnation. It was probably due to the incomplete laws of his world. Second, he didn't completely mold the Kuin scale in. More importantly, his Blue Moon was just barely half a mortal artifact. It was still a far way away from a mortal artifact. Plus, half-immortal artifacts didn't have divine damnation anyways. Yemo's Blue Moon wasn't completely upgraded, so its chi was exposed. Yemo couldn't perfect it more for now, but he could inscribe some stealth formations on it to cover its chi. Then, Yemo left the Golden Page world and put away all the restrictions. Yemo put the red jade box back into the storage ring before coming out of the room. He came out and saw Jiling and them discussing something. Their faces were very serious. "What's going on?" Yemo asked in confusion. Jiling answered, "Hanan told us about your deal with the city lord." "Yemo, this was too risky. If we leave the city now, perhaps we'll be followed." Yemo nodded. "Ji Qianbei, it's not just probable. It's certain that we'll be followed. There's no way that the city lord won't hunt us. But we should leave now in case anything else coming up." "Martial brother Yi, are we leaving now?" Guangwei asked in confusion. Yemo nodded in certainty. "Yes, we must go now as fast as possible." He didn't talk about Blue Moon. He wouldn't say anything about this before going out of High City. No matter how confident he was in his formations and restrictions, he wouldn't do such a thing. Who knows if Su would be able to hear it. Seeing that Yemo had made up his decision, Jiling didn't ask and quickly packed away all the formations and restrictions. Moments later, they left the hotel. At the same time, Yemo noticed that there were many people watching them outside the hotel. But Yemo was sure they weren't sent by the city lord. Su didn't need them. When the 7 came to the city gates, Yemo saw that Sha was waiting outside the city for him. There were 2 disaster transformation state cultivators next to him. Yemo didn't see that cauldron-filling state female cultivator. Guangwei looked worriedly at Yemo. "Yemo, these people seem to have been watching us. What do we do?" "Ignore them, let's just leave." Yemo ignored Sha's murderous eyes and walked out. As expected, no one stopped them from going out. When they came to that huge grassy plain, Yemo swiped with the card and a void formation door appeared. "Going quickly," Yemo said and went in. Moments later, the 7 appeared on that huge rock again. Yemo breathed easy. He felt free here again, not oppressed like in High City. "I feel much more comfortable," Minghanan sighed. Yemo didn't ask about her feelings and took out Blue Moon. "Quickly get on, we need to leave." Jiling immediately saw the stealth formations Yemo had added. He thought of the Kuin scale. Did Yemo really refine it? He didn't ask Yemo about it as now wasn't the time. When they got on Blue Moon, Sha and them quickly followed. However, they were on a top-grade flying cultivation artifact instead of the low-grade flying cultivation artifact from before. When they got on, Jiling and them found that Blue Moon wasn't any faster than before, but instead a little slower. Tangyi also noticed this and said, "Yemo increased the speed to max. We need to run." Minghanan answered for Yemo, "We can't increase to max speed yet. If we do, the nearby truth realization state cultivators would know that ordinary flying magic artifacts wouldn't be able to chase up to us and will come after us immediately." Sister Ming is right. But Yemo had another reason, that Sha was too cocky. He would feel uncomfortable if he didn't teach Sha a lesson. Thus, they couldn't go too fast. A few hours later, Yimo stopped Blue Moon. Minghanan asked in confusion, Marshal brother Yi, we just got 100,000 kilometers away from Inhai City. Why did you stop? Minghanan thought now was the time to speed up. Yimo knew what she meant. He pointed at Insha. I don't like that guy. I want to teach him a lesson. Yimo knew that even if the city lord was going to attack him, he wouldn't do it in front of Insha and them. Outside the no-fighting range, Insha wanted to stop Yimo and them, but saw Yimo stop himself. Before they said anything, Yimo came out of Blue Moon and said to Insha, if you want to fight, hurry up. I don't have much time. Hearing this, Insha and them laughed. A cauldron-filling state level 6 pointed his finger at a disaster transformation state level 6, telling him to hurry up and fight? Was there something funnier than this in the world? Only Guangwei looked worried. She knew Insha was disaster transformation state middle stage, while Yimo was cauldron-filling state. How could he beat Insha? Ming Xin didn't know Insha's power. Meanwhile, Minghanan and them didn't worry about Yimo at all. Yimo could kill disaster transformation state middle stage Yong Yin at cauldron-filling state level 2. He was now cauldron-filling state level 6. Even if he was no match for Insha, he wouldn't lose by much. Insha turned around to the two disaster transformation state tertiary stages and saluted with his fists. Two brothers. Watch him and don't let the others run. Watch how I teach this kid a lesson. Insha then released his yin-yang lock, and his power rose drastically. There were explosions in the air due to his pressure. Yimo saluted with his fists at this moment. Friend, it was my fault that I took Guangwei away before, but she's my friend. Insha and them were dazed. Yimo was being very cocky just then as though he didn't fear anyone, but now he was scared? Insha snarled. What? Scared now? It's too late. Weren't you very cocky at the trade hall? Destroying someone's dantian and taking 11 cultivation women. I'll tell you right now, even if I let you go today, you think you can get away? Keep fucking dreaming. Yimo frowned and took out a red jade box. This is a blue lightning source bead. It's very precious. I'll give it to you, friend. Please let me go. Then, he opened the jade box to show Insha and threw it over at him. Insha immediately wrapped the box with his cultivation essence and checked it carefully before opening it. It was indeed a blue lightning source bead. He was overjoyed. This was more precious than 7 or 8 cultivation women. If it was some lightning spirit root cultivator, this was the best thing for them. It was a priceless treasure for them. He didn't expect that Yimo gave him something this precious before he even attacked. Clearly, he had more precious things. Yimo didn't even wait for him to finish and release Zissou. Rings of purple ray emanated like a beam from Zissou, and they covered the heavens as they swooped towards Insha. Instantly, Insha couldn't be seen anymore. There were just purple rays. Illusion Cloud 7 Strike. Formation Shatter. Yimo's strike locked the surrounding space, and at the same time, he sent over a few spirit sense transform blades. Insha didn't take this cauldron-filling state level 6 cultivator seriously and casually let out his yin-yang lock. He didn't want to kill Yimo. He wanted Yimo alive. But instantly, he felt something was wrong. The space around him froze, and it was hard for him to use his magic artifact. This is domain, initial completion domain. Insha was extremely shocked. Even his domain wasn't an initial completion, yet a cauldron-filling state cultivator had achieved this. In his shock, Insha forcefully used his yin-yang lock. He broke free of Yimo's domain instantly, and the yin-yang lock swept towards the purple rays. But at this moment, there were piercing pains in his sea of consciousness. This was a spirit sense cultivation method. Insha was completely shook. He started burning his essence blood without hesitation and forcefully shattered the spirit sense blade. This was a spirit sense cultivation method. Insha was completely shook. He started burning his essence blood without hesitation and forcefully shattered the spirit sense blade. Thud, thud, thud. Insha's yin-yang lock swirled, clashed with the purple ray, and instantly let off a terrifying cultivation essence explosion. The seawater below was parted by this explosion. Although the yin-yang lock broke Yimo's domain and blocked most of Yimo's purple ray, a small part of the purple ray still slipped through. A blood light flashed and his arm was taken away by the purple ray. Insha lost an arm because he underestimated Yemo and didn't use a defense magic artifact. Yemo didn't feel that well either. The powerful cultivation essence swirl knocked him flying back, and he also spat a mouthful of blood. Yemo knew that although he wasn't afraid of Insha, the difference in power was too great. Insha was much stronger than that young yin. You dare to injure me. Insha was furious. But Yemo didn't go back to Blue Moon. Instead, he used 2 more lightning arcs. Hearing 2 thuds, Insha was dazed. The 2 lightning arcs didn't attack him but his broken arm, which was instantly disintegrated. Insha was so angry he spat blood again. He could reattach the broken arm previously, but how could he do that when it was turned to dust? Without a powerful spirit herb, he would have to stay one-armed forever. Spirit herbs that could grow back lost limbs were rare even in the cultivation realm. The immortal curl flower could do it, but could he get that? The 9-color lotus could as well, but he couldn't get that either. When Yemo flew back to Blue Moon, Insha woke up. He indeed only had one arm now. As his fury grew, Blue Moon flew again. Chase, I'm going to kill him. Insha had lost his reason, but the 2 other disaster transformation state cultivators he was with were calm, and that disaster transformation state peak stage cultivator said, Brotherine, you're too impetuous and underestimating, otherwise that cauldron-filling state level 6 wouldn't be able to injure you. Indeed, we need to chase up and kill him. If that cultivator reaches disaster transformation state, ordinary disaster transformation states won't be a match for him. The disaster transformation state level 8 also nodded. That's right, that cauldron-filling state cultivator is too terrifying. He's only cauldron-filling state level 6, but his domain is in initial completion. His lightning-style attacks are also too terrifying. Once he's disaster transformation state, no one in disaster transformation state would be able to take him on. Insha calmed down now too. He realized he was too careless. But any disaster transformation state cultivator wouldn't take things seriously when they fought a cauldron-filling state cultivator. I must kill this person or my mental state won't be calm, Insha said word by word. The disaster transformation state peak stage smiled. Their flying cultivation artifact may be extreme grade, but it's not fast enough. We'll be able to catch up in about half a day. Ming Xian didn't know Insha's power, but after Guangwei told her, she began to worry. Now, Yemo had cut off one of Insha's arms with only cauldron-filling state power. Ming Xian was very shocked. She had seen too many cultivators fighting people above their cultivation level, but not someone as absurd as Yemo. Everyone else didn't seem surprised at what Yemo did. Tungi asked again, Yemo, we should hurry up and go now? Yemo shook his head. No need. Wait another half a day. Yemo didn't know if the City Lord Estate's people were watching him, but he had a feeling they wouldn't let him go. Half a day later, when Insha's top-grade flying cultivation artifact appeared before them again, Yemo said, we can go now. Then, Yemo put 8 extreme-grade spirit stones on the Blue Moon and activated its max speed. Those 3 disaster transformation state cultivators thought they were about to catch up to Yemo, but before they could make a plan, they saw Yemo's flying cultivation artifact suddenly accelerate more than 10 times faster than before. It flew away like a blue moon, not leaving behind a single mark. The 3 were dazed and subconsciously stopped their flying cultivation artifact. How could they chase at this speed? Yemo had already disappeared from their sights. Fuck, this bastard has been playing with us. The disaster transformation state level 8 cursed. He came to help Insha because he was interested in Blue Moon, but now he couldn't see Blue Moon at all. It's actually a half-immortal flying artifact, so powerful. The disaster transformation state peak stage said. Insha murmured, so he wasn't afraid of us chasing. Such a calculated cultivator. Wait. The disaster transformation state peak stage suddenly stared at Insha. Insha and the other cultivators subconsciously looked at this disaster transformation state peak stage. The disaster transformation state peak stage asked coldly, Brother Insha, he has a half-immortal artifact. Can we chase up to him? Insha subconsciously shook his head. Of course not. We only have a top-grade flying cultivation artifact. Suddenly, Insha thought of something and took out that jade box. You mean? The disaster transformation state, peak stage nodded. Yes, if he can get away, why give something as precious as the blue lightning source bead to you? Don't you feel it strange? That cultivator is very decisive. He destroyed your arm after severing it. Do you think someone like that will kindly give you the blue lightning source bead? The disaster transformation state, peak stage asked. Insha also recounted how cruel and calculated Yemo was in the trade hall. He immediately began to sweat. Just when he was hesitating, two figures flew by and landed in front of them. The three immediately stopped their discussion and looked at these two with respect. They were truth realization state cultivators without any doubt. The man at the front seemed very charismatic and wore a mask. The cultivator behind him was like a ghost. The masked cultivator saw the red jade box and his eyes turned frigid. He took the jade box and opened it. One blue lightning source bead laid in there. The Kuan scale was gone. His spirit sense mark was on the bead. The masked cultivator's hands were clearly shaking due to excitement. He stared coldly at Insha and asked, "Where did you get the jade box?" Insha told everything, not daring to hide anything. "You're saying he has a flying half-immortal artifact?" The masked cultivator asked emotionlessly. The three shivered and just kept nodding. They finally realized why Yemo gave them this jade box. It was a huge trap. The masked cultivator was so furious that he was shaking. He was worried about the Kuan scale and came to kill Yemo personally, but he still got away. "Master, we can chase them now. Even without the mark, we might not fail," the shadow said. Insu nodded and looked coldly at the three. "Kill them." He hated these three insects for ruining his plan. "Yes," the shadow said and loomed over the three. Even the disaster transformation state peak stage just managed to take out his magic artifact before he was frozen by the shadow's domain. Then they were all crushed to nothing. "Chase," Insu said, looking in the direction Insha had pointed at. "You've really successfully upgraded it?" Meng Hanan looked at Blue Moon's speed in disbelief. This was definitely the speed of a half-immortal artifact. "You've really successfully upgraded it?" Meng Hanan looked at Blue Moon's speed in disbelief. This was definitely the speed of a half-immortal artifact. The rest of the people realized why Yemo had such confidence in their escape. He had upgraded the extreme-grade flying cultivation artifact to half-immortal artifact. Even truth realization state cultivators wouldn't be able to catch up to them unless they also had a half-immortal artifact. Yemo nodded. "Yes, but I don't know if it's reached a half-immortal artifact yet. My means are limited, so I've just simply molded the Kuran scale into Blue Moon. I can't even cover its chi. I did it with formation means. Haha, luckily I'm a formation grandmaster." Hearing this, everyone felt assured. This meant that they were safe. But Yemo didn't feel easy. He felt more concerned with Insu after knowing that the Kuan scale was this strong. He looked at Ming Xian and Guangwei asking seriously, "Ming Xian Qianbei, did you two ever disclose that you came from North Far State?" They both shook their head, but Ming Xian said worriedly, "When we were captured, those people just wanted to sell us. They didn't care where we came from. But in my storage ring, there's the jade card of the immortal Herb Valley's sect leader. They were taken away by those beast cultivators." "Taken away by a few beast cultivators?" Yemo frowned but immediately said, "It should be fine. Those few beast cultivators would need about a year or so to reaching High City. During this time, we would have long reached North Far State already. As long as we go back to South Peace State, even if Insu goes there, he won't dare to do anything." "Yemo, you're saying in High City Lord would cross the Heartless Sea too?" Tungi asked in confusion. Yemo nodded. "It's hard for ordinary people and even ordinary truth realization state cultivators. But if it's a truth realization state peak stage cultivator with an extreme grade flying cultivation artifact, then he might only need 2 years or less." Jiling nodded. "That's right. Lu Wu Hu Qianbei once crossed the Heartless Sea. He went to the West Store State and only took 4 years. He wasn't even truth realization state peak stage at the time. He was only truth realization state level 7. That time, he almost died in the Heartless Sea. But if it's a truth realization state peak stage cultivator with an extreme grade flying cultivation artifact, there would be no danger in crossing the Heartless Sea." Yemo nodded. For Su and his shadow, it would be good if he didn't go out looking for trouble. No one would dare to look for trouble with him. Imagine, if Su flew over the Three Seas or the Dragon Tongue Palace, would any of them attack even if they could beat him? Blue Moon sped across the heartless sea at a speed that even Yemo felt amazed. Yemo was sure that if Blue Moon became an immortal artifact, then it might only take 3 months to cross the heartless sea or even less. Thinking about that, Yemo felt excited. He needed to hurry up and improve his forgery skills. A week later, Tung Yi and Bianfengta were enjoying Blue Moon's speed, but Yemo saw that Ming Xian was a little worried. He thought about it and realized what was going on. He immediately asked, Ming Xian Qianbei, do you know in which direction the Coral Island is that Tangmingrao Qianbei is hiding on? We can go see. Ming Xian said gratefully to Yemo, I don't know as well. I was lost, but it's in the direction towards North Far State. We just need to watch out along the way. Perhaps we can see it. Okay. Yemo didn't have a spirit range to cultivate with, so he manned the ship himself. 2 months later, Ming Xian suddenly pointed at a huge island. I've seen this island before. We flew south from this island for a month, and it was Tangmingrao Qianbei's island. Yemo heard this and rejoiced. This meant that they were at most a month away from North Far State. The half-immortal artifact was indeed fast. Ming Xian said 1 month, but it only took 3 days to arrive at that Coral Island. Yemo saw there were marks of a stealth formation. We don't need to land. There's no one on the island, Jiling said. Yemo nodded. Ming Xian Qianbei, someone has set up a formation here, but that person has gone. There are no marks of battles. Ming Xian breathed easy. Tangmingrao Qianbei probably recovered and went back to North Far State. Let's go to North Far State now. With Blue Moon's speed, we can probably reach there in 1 month. Yemo nodded. But he didn't agree that Tangmingrao had recovered. Yemo didn't believe that on this spirit chi-deprived island, a disaster transformation state peak stage cultivator would recover this soon without top-grade pills. Blue Moon changed direction and flew towards North Far State rapidly. A few days later, Yemo suddenly slowed down and looked at Jiling, Ji Qianbei. Did you notice the battle to the west? Jiling nodded. Yes, one female cultivator is being attacked by 2 beast cultivators. That female cultivator seems heavily injured. Could it be Tangmingrao Qianbei? Ming Xian asked worriedly. Yemo smiled. Ming Xian Qianbei, don't worry. It's just 2 disaster transformation state primary stage cultivators. We'll go look at it now. Then, in a few breaths, they arrived at the battle. That female cultivator was seriously injured. She was running north as she was fending off the 2 beast cultivators. Yemo, hurry and go over. It's Tangmingrao Qianbei, Ming Xian said. Ming Xian's scream caught the attention of the beast cultivators. That injured female cultivator immediately saw Ming Xian and seemed surprised and joyful. She immediately flew over towards Yemo and them. The 2 beast cultivators saw Yemo's flying magic artifact and were also overjoyed. Yemo opened Blue Moon restriction and let Tangmingrao onto Blue Moon. Tangmingrao didn't see Jiling, but she saw Yemo was only cauldron-filling state level 6. However, this flying magic artifact was very powerful. Before she could ask Ming Xian how she knew Yemo, she said desperately, I'm seriously injured. Fly north. Those 2 beast cultivators won't be able to chase up. However, soon she was surprised. Yemo didn't flying Blue Moon. Instead, he stopped and smiled at Ming Hanan. Sister Ming, there are 2 disaster transformation state cultivators. I'll leave the disaster transformation state level 1 to you, and I'll take on the disaster transformation state level 3. How about it? Ming Hanan rolled her eyes. I thought you were going to leave the level 3 to me. Yemo laughed and charged at the disaster transformation state level 3 with Zisu. Ming Hanan also let out her flying sword and attacked the disaster transformation state level 1. Before Tangmingrao could ask Ming Xian who Yemo was, she looked at Yemo in shock. She completely couldn't understand why this cauldron-filling state level 6 dared to fight a disaster transformation state level 3. Jiling smiled. Tangmingrao, don't worry for Yemo. He has many means, but you need some pills. Then he gave 2 pills to Tangmingrao. Eat these pills and recover first. Tang Mingrao just saw Jiling now and called out in surprise and joy. Your South Peace State's Jiling Qianbei, the Formation Grandmaster? Jiling smiled. That's right. You still remember me. I'm Jiling. We met at Pei High City before. He let out a sigh. Ming Xian, what's going on? How did you meet Jiling Qianbei? Did you go to South Peace State? How is that possible? Tang Mingrao asked in shock. This is a long story. After Yimo beats that guy, I will tell you. Ming Xian pointed at Yimo. This is a long story. After Yimo beats that guy, I will tell you. Ming Xian pointed at Yimo. Tang Mingrao just realized there were still people fighting and immediately began watching. She was confused why Jiling didn't help, since he was the strongest here. The disaster transformation state level 3 saw that Yimo dared to stop him and gave his friend to a disaster transformation state level 3 female cultivator and was dazed. He immediately realized what was going on. She wanted to let this cauldron-filling state cultivator stop him for a while, and after the female cultivator killed his friend, then she would help this cauldron-filling state. Realizing this, the disaster transformation state level 3 sneered. A mere cauldron-filling state cultivator dared to stall him. He would soon know that it was only a matter of a few breaths for him to kill him. The disaster transformation state level 3 wanted to kill Yimo quickly, so he used a black veil before Yimo even let out his magic artifact. With this, Yimo felt the sky darken as though surrounded by countless wretched souls. Soul-devouring flag. Yimo immediately recognized this magic artifact. He had a 5-color soul-devouring flag, but after he reached higher cultivation levels, he never used it again. However, this cultivator's soul-devouring flag was hundreds of times more powerful than his. As soon as it came out, Yimo felt there were countless souls calling for him, and even his mind became restless. This was definitely Thousand Illusion soul-devouring flag, or else it wouldn't have such an effect. It was very hard for soul-devouring flags to upgrade. After the 5-color soul-devouring flag, there was the 100 Abyss soul-devouring flag, then the 1000 Illusion soul-devouring flag. 1000 Illusion soul-devouring flags not only needed high-level materials, but also relied on devouring souls and cultivator essence spirits. The more essence spirits and souls it devoured, the more powerful it got. Eventually, it might even become a half-immortal artifact. In order to reach that level, it would need countless souls and essence spirits, and they must be high-level ones or things would be really slow. The 1000 Illusion soul-devouring flag was equivalent to a middle-grade cultivation artifact. Yimo's essence spirit was as powerful as disaster transformation state middle-stage cultivators, and his mind was very firm from cultivating next to the bitter bamboo. Even the 1000 Illusion soul-devouring flag wasn't able to catch him off guard. With the use of 3 birth chant, his mind calmed down as he released Zisu. The disaster transformation state cultivator thought that his soul-devouring flag was sure to take the cauldron-filling state cultivator's soul, but instead he saw a purple ray sweep over. It was just one ray at the start, but soon it turned to a whole patch. He formed a domain that was Illusion Cloud Division Strike and instantly broke the 1000 Illusion soul-devouring flag. The disaster transformation state cultivator felt space stagnate after Yimo used the purple ray. He was shocked. He realized instantly what was going on. This cauldron-filling state level 6 cultivator was using a domain. This meant that he wasn't here to hold him off, but he really had the power to fight with him. This disaster transformation state cultivator underestimated Yimo, but not to Insha's extent. Realizing Yimo's power, he didn't dare to underestimate Yimo at all. He burned essence blood to break free of Yimo's domain, and then closed his hands. 9 skulls appeared out of thin air and shot out tins of dark rays that broke Yimo's purple sword ray's domain. Then, the 9 skulls spun around Yimo, getting faster and faster while making an ear-splitting screeching sound. 10 more black rays shot out of the skulls. Yimo didn't expect this disaster transformation state cultivator to react so fast. His plan of utilizing his opponent's carelessness failed, so Yimo released the octagonal cauldron. Even Jiling and Tang Mingrao realized this cauldron was no ordinary thing. Minghanan just realized that Yimo had such a defense magic artifact, he didn't even take it out when he fought Yongyan. A piercing sound struck the octagonal cauldron and made it wobble, but even so, the octagonal cauldron still spun rapidly above Emo's head, protecting him. The disaster transformation state found in shock that his nine-skull formation didn't affect the cauldron-filling state cultivator at all. He had never seen a cauldron-filling state cultivator this powerful, forcing a stalemate with a disaster transformation state cultivator. Tang Mingrao looked at Emo in more disbelief. He realized now why this cauldron-filling state level 6 was fighting the stronger enemy. He was clearly stronger than the disaster transformation state level 3 female cultivator. Emo knew that if he didn't use Shadowless to help, he wouldn't be able to kill this disaster transformation state level 3 by himself. He was much stronger than Yong Yin, who was disaster transformation state level 4. When Emo called out Shadowless, he used Lightning Sword. At this moment, the disaster transformation state cultivator just realized that Emo was actually a lightning cultivator. Immediately, he wanted to retreat. He was a beast cultivator, but he used the demon cultivation method. It was in the soul-devouring category. This type of cultivator feared lightning cultivators the most because lightning style naturally countered them. As soon as Emo used Lightning Sword, this disaster transformation state quickly protected himself with the 9 skulls, while also releasing a dark blue cultivation artifact Flying Sword. Emo immediately knew his lightning was countering this cultivator and used more lightning arcs. His spirit sense was powerful and his lightning arc sword was in initial completion. With his full-powered attack, he instantly suppressed that disaster transformation state cultivator. Tungi saw this and couldn't resist anymore. During this trip, he never had a chance to fight. His heart was itching to battle. He just released his golden dragon drill and charged up. That disaster transformation state cultivator was already having huge pressure fighting with Emo, and now that Tungi came too, he was more worried. Tungi was only cauldron-filling state level 9, but he was already scared of Emo, this maniac. If this Tungi was also like Emo, he would be dead for sure. He couldn't help his partner and swept up his soul-devouring flag to shoot rings at Emo and Tengi. He was planning to run. Emo could tell what this disaster transformation state level 3 was thinking. He shot out a few spirit sense blades over without hesitation and signaled Shadowless to be ready. Shadowless had been cooperating with Emo for many years and knew what Emo meant. Plus, he was very picky with food now, so he was already drooling for this disaster transformation state level 3 cultivator. The disaster transformation state level 3 knew now was the best time for him to retreat, but before he could, he felt his sea of consciousness ache. His control of his magic artifact stagnated for a moment. The disaster transformation state level 3 immediately knew things weren't good. This was spirit sense cultivation method. He didn't expect this cauldron-filling state level 6 to not only know domain, but also have a spirit sense cultivation method. The disaster transformation state level 3 couldn't keep his soul-devouring flag anymore. He burned essence blood without hesitation, trying to break free of the spirit sense blade. As soon as he did, he felt his meridians ache. Shadowless didn't use much effort to ambush this disaster transformation state level 3. It was now that this disaster transformation state level 3 realized how bleak the cauldron-filling state cultivator he was fighting with was. He had means that were indefensible. He roared and spat many mouthfuls of blood, and Shadowless was instantly forced out. At the same time, a few huge explosions sounded. The 9 skulls blocking the lightning sword and the golden dragon drill completely shattered. The explosion sent Tung Yi flying more than 1,000 meters, and his golden dragon drill was also blasted away. The explosion sent Tung Yi flying more than 1,000 meters, and his golden dragon drill was also blasted away. Emo had the octagonal cauldron and was in a better state, but even so, he spat a mouthful of blood from the concussion. That disaster transformation state level 3 instantly wanted to get away, and didn't even have time to take back his soul-devouring flag and flying sword. He knew this was his only chance of escape. But how could Emo let him get away? He hacked with Zisu, and the long ray instantly came before the disaster transformation state cultivator. His face changed. He didn't expect Emo's octagonal cauldron to be so tough. The self-destruction of his 9 skulls didn't even force Emo back. Instead, He came at him with such a speed. He didn't even earn half a second for himself. He set up a cultivation essence wall and wanted to take a strike as the price to get away. But his cultivation essence instantly paused again. Shadowless was only a little bit slower than Yemo and also counterattacked. Crack Yemo's purple ray sliced through this cultivator's armor like tofu and brought about a bloody mist. That disaster transformation state cultivator looked in disbelief at his body that was hacked open by Yemo. He died to a cauldron-filling state without that chance to even run. This was a head-on attack too, not an ambush. Also, he was disaster transformation state level 3. He wasn't even afraid of disaster transformation state middle stage, and now he was killed by a cauldron-filling state cultivator. An essence spirit seeped out, and before it could escape, Shadowless charged over and gulped it down. The essence spirit was completely devoured. Yemo took this cultivator's storage ring and magic artifact and just wanted to take back Shadowless, but Shadowless charged towards the essence spirit of the other cultivator. The disaster transformation state level 1 didn't expect his comrade to be killed by Yemo, and he who already had the lower hand was killed by Meng Hanan in his shock. His essence spirit didn't escape Shadowless either. Meng Hanan sighed. "You won first indeed." Yemo smiled. "Tung helped me." Then, Yemo looked back at Tung, who said first, "Next time. I'm not going to fight a cultivator higher level than me. It's lethal." Bianfengta laughed. He knew what Tingyi thought. Yemo also fought with disaster transformation state cultivators, and his cultivation level was lower than them. This made Tung Yi's confidence rise, but he forgot he was Tang Yi, not Yemo. Tang Mingrao took a cold breath in. Today she witnessed a cauldron-filling state level 6 cultivator kill a disaster transformation state level 3 in a head-on battle. She knew the power of this disaster transformation state level 3 who had hunted her for a few months. He was equivalent to disaster transformation state middle stage. If she didn't see this with her own eyes, she would never believe it. Yemo greets Tang Mingrao Qian Bei. Yemo came back to Blue Moon and saluted with his fists. "You're Yemo? Which Yemo?" "I heard the person who got Pill Concoction Hall of Fame #1 was also called Yemo. He created the spirit-weaving pill," Tang Mingrao said. Yemo smiled. "That's me. How are you here? Didn't Shandi say you went to South Peace State?" Tang Mingrao looked at Yemo with uncertainty. Yemo could only say, "That's right. Wan Bei just came back from South Peace State and saw Ming X and Qian Bei and Martial Sister Guangwei on the way. Then we came to find you, Qian Bei." "You crossed the Heartless Sea?" Tang Mingrao asked in astonishment. "Your only cauldron-filling state. You dare to cross the Heartless Sea?" Ming Xian quickly came up and told Tang Mingrao what they did. "So you guys went to that coral island to look for me?" Tang Mingrao asked gratefully. Ming Xian nodded. "Yes, Yemo went to that island to save Qian Bei, but Qian Bei had already left." Tang Mingrao said gratefully to Yemo, "Thank you, Yemo. When I heard you got first in the tournament, you were only Foundation Establishment State. But in a few years, you're actually Cauldron-filling State Level 6. I've seen too many prodigies, but never one as insane as you." Yemo couldn't reply to that. He heard that way too much, but he felt his progress was too slow. He wanted to get into truth realization state as soon as possible. Tang Mingrao then said, "Half a year ago, I left that island. I didn't have a good flying magic artifact, so I could only fly on my flying sword to go back to North Far State. On the way I saw those two beast cultivators. They saw I was heavily injured, so they wanted to capture me. I fended them off for a few months, but my injuries were getting worse. If I hadn't encountered you guys, I would eventually have died in the Heartless Sea." Yemo saw her chi was in rapid recovery. Clearly Ji-Ling had given her some pills. He was hesitating if he should ask her about North Far State now. Ming Xian looked at Yemo and knew what he was thinking. She looked at Tang Mingrao and asked, "Tang Qian Bei, Yemo is very worried about the North Far State. I told him a lot of things, but there are some things I don't know." Tang Mingrao looked at Yemo and nodded. "Yemo, you're very great. I approve of you more from what I've heard. North Far State still needs your help. I was going to tell you anyways." Tang Mingrao cleared her thoughts and said, "You guys must feel very strange as to why Martial Brother Shan, I, and Lin Zhongtian would fight. I didn't explain to Ming Xian because even if she knew there was nothing she could do." To be honest, I owe you. But we can talk about that later. Tang Mingrao turned to Yimo. Yimo, you've been to Peichi Island, right? Yimo was shook. Few people knew he went there. He wore a mask at the time. Tang Mingrao knew clearly because people had investigated him. He nodded. That's right. I did go and I bought a Dihua beast core in an auction. Tang Mingrao nodded. The island's #1 merchant association's leader Ao Jun's son Ao Qilong was also killed by you, right? Yimo smiled. I wanted to kill that Ao Qilong, but he didn't die to me. He was killed by a golden core state level 9 cultivator called Emo Qianli. Emo Qianli? You mean the one who uses Evil Soul Strand, rank #3 on North Far State Golden Core State's Hall of Fame? Tang Mingrao asked in shock. Yes, that Ao Qilong chased me, but Emo Qianli also followed. Then he killed Ao Qilong. But when he wanted to kill me, I killed him, Emo said calmly. Tang Mingrao said, the reason I know this is because Ao Jun also has a daughter called Ao Qiandai. She's very talented and is Hollow Spirit State peak stage in her 20s. Not only that, she's the #1 beauty of North Far State. Yimo frowned. He felt Tang Mingrao wouldn't mention a merchant association for no reason. Tang Mingrao sighed. Ao Qiandai is my personal disciple. Qiandai had been cultivating in the sect, and 2 years after Ao Qilong was killed, she learned of this. She was furious and immediately went back to the Ao Cheng Merchant Association from the sect. She swore she would get revenge for her brother. So she found out everything about you. At the time, she was only Hollow Spirit State level 4. Qiandai had been cultivating in the sect, and 2 years after Ao Qilong was killed, she learned of this. She was furious and immediately went back to the Ao Cheng Merchant Association from the sect. She swore she would get revenge for her brother. So she found out everything about you. At the time, she was only Hollow Spirit State level 4. Speaking of this, Yimo's eyes went cold. If Ao Qiandai was going to attack Imo, she didn't need to ask people to help. Her Hollow Spirit State peak stage power was enough. Seeing Yimo's terrifying glance, even though Tang Mingrao was Disaster Transformation State tertiary stage, she shivered and said immediately, Yimo, sit down first. Let me finish. Yimo's eyes calmed down. He knew there was no point in worrying. Tang Mingrao said guiltily, I did this wrong. After she found out her brother's death was related to you, she went to look for trouble at Imo. I knew this, but I didn't stop her. Yimo's eyes went cold. Although he knew power was everything in the cultivation realm, Tang Mingrao, being one of the respected masters in North Far State, allowing her disciple to do such a thing made him extremely uncomfortable. Ao Qilong wanted to kill him out of greed and he failed. Yet Tang Mingrao let his sister seek revenge on Imo. Tang Mingrao seemed to know Yimo was extremely unhappy and didn't dare to look at Yimo's face. She continued, everyone knew Imo was protected by Wang Yu sect, and Wang Yu sect even sent Hollow Spirit State cultivator Su Jinhu to stay there. Because Qiandai was from our Jade Woman sect, she also joined forces with Wang Yu sect to attack Imo. There was no way Imo could stop the only 2 8-star sects in North Far State. Yimo's face grew colder and colder. He said coldly, I had a deal with Wang Yu sect. They said they would protect Imo and now instead they helped attack it? Tang Mingrao looked down and said, Qiandia's fiancé is the #1 prodigy of Wang Yu sect Yi. After Qiandai told him about this, he immediately went to Peihai City and wanted to help Qiandai annihilate Imo. Su Jinhe wasn't going to go against the #1 prodigy of his sect, so he left before they attacked. Yimo's face went ice cold. He completely realized that it was hollow to rely on other people at any time. His 3 spirit recovery pills weren't even as useful as one sect member's word from the Jade Woman sect. Yimo's eyes were so cold that even Ming Hanan was shook. Yimo had decided that if Imo had been annihilated, he would slaughter Jade Woman sect and Wang Yu sect clean. He wasn't going to let go of Tang Mingrao either. She would need to take the consequences for her actions. Ming Xian shivered seeing Yimo's face. She had always seen Yimo's nice side and never killing intent this dense. One could see how important the people in Imo were to him. How could Tang Mingrao not feel this? Before Yimo's battle with the Disaster Transformation State Level 3, she wouldn't care. But now she knew Yemo had the power to annihilate the Jade Woman sect. If he cultivated a few more years, even the three masters of North Far State combined wouldn't be enough to take on Yemo. She also felt that everyone on this flying magic artifact all followed Yemo except for Ming Xian and Guang Wei. Tang Mingrao cast these thoughts aside and continued. Yu was protected by formations. Qiandai and Yi were Hollow Spirit State Peak Stage and Primary Stage respectively, and with the few nascent Soul State cultivators from Ao Cheng Merchant Association, the Level 5 formation didn't last long. "Where is Qi Ziyu from Peihai City?" Yemo asked. Tang Mingrao immediately replied. Qi Ziyu was said to have persuaded Qiandai but was almost killed by her. Qi Ziyu left and didn't dare to help anymore. Yemo was shook. He didn't expect Qi Ziyu to be able to do this. But soon, he realized that Qi Ziyu was just putting in a word for Yu. He wasn't going to really lose anything. Qi Ziyu knew he went to South Peace State and didn't know when he would come back. He was leaving an alternative path for himself. No matter what, as long as Qi Ziyu didn't attack Yemo, he wasn't going to do anything to him. Without hesitation, that Qiandai was a very arrogant woman. She reminded him of Wen Cai. Both were very beautiful and both were extremely cocky. Tang Mingrao breathed. At this moment, Ling Zhongtian brought a Golden Core State Level 9 cultivator to Yu. When he saw the Ao Cheng Merchant Association and their nascent Soul State cultivators, he destroyed their dantians without saying anything. Yemo rejoiced. He didn't expect Lin Zhongtian to be this helpful. But indeed, no one other than Lin Zhongtian could help Yu at the time. Tang Mingrao sighed. Qiandai and Yi knew Lin Zhongtian. They were shook by his actions. Lin Zhongtian destroyed the 5 nascent Soul State cultivators from her father's Ao Cheng Merchant Association. Her second uncle was amongst them. She cursed at Lin Zhongtian, asking him how he dared attack her people. Lin Zhongtian sneered, saying he also dared to attack her. Tang Mingrao said with greater disappointment, hearing Lin Zhongtian's words. Qiandai cursed and cried, saying Yi was useless and had watched her get harassed. Yi impulsively killed the Golden Core State Level 9 brought by Lin Zhongtian. Lin Zhongtian was furious and cursed, "Bastard! You dare to kill Li Qishan? I will eat you alive." Hearing this name, Yemo soon remembered who it was. When he stole Qi Hong's storage ring and escaped encountering 2 cultivators fighting in the sea, one of them was Li Qishan. He was only Golden Core State Level 8 at the time. He helped Li Qishan kill the Golden Core State Level 9. Li Qishan told him to go back to report that the Ao Cheng Merchant Association had conspired with spirit beasts and tricked cultivators to go out and then supply Golden Core State cultivators golden cores to them. Li Qishan was a nice person, and he had given him a middle-grade spirit artifact. He didn't expect such a heroic hot-blooded cultivator was killed by Yi. Yemo immediately detested this Yi extremely. Tang Mingrao sighed. After Lin Zhongtian caught Yi, he was going to kill him on the spot, but Yi said if Lin Zhongtian dared to kill him, his sect leader Shan Di would get revenge. Lin Zhongtian laughed and completely destroyed Yi's dantian. He then said, "I know you're the #1 prodigy of Wang Yu sect, but today I'm going to destroy this prodigy. I won't kill you. I want to see how Shan Di is going to get revenge. I, Lin Zhongtian, am an upright man. I don't fear someone coming for me." "Great." Yemo clapped his hands. "Well done. Kill that bitch Qiandai as well." Tang Mingrao felt a little awkward but continued. Qiandai saw this and her face changed. Then, she sent a sound transmission to Lin Zhongtian. I don't know what she said, but when Lin Zhongtian heard this, his face changed and he grabbed Qiandai, leaving Peihai City. Yemo felt this was completely unreasonable. Why would Lin Zhongtian do that? Tang Mingrao nodded. It indeed happened. Ever since he took away Qiandai, there was no more news of them. When Shan Di and I rushed to Peihai City, he was furious to know Yi's dantian was ruined. He was going to fight with Lin Zhongtian with his life. I was worried they would fight, so I could only follow behind them. Tang Mingrao nodded. It indeed happened. Ever since he took away Qiandai, there was no more news of them. When Shan Di and I rushed to Peihai City, he was furious to know Yi's dantian was ruined. He was going to fight with Lin Zhongtian with his life. I was worried they would fight, so I could only follow behind them. Shandi had a tracing spirit beast, and after nearly 4 months they found Lin Zhongtian. Shandi fought with Lin Zhongtian without saying a word. I found my disciple Ao Qiandai. I told her to come to the side, and then I tried to break up the fight. But Qiandai came crying to me saying that Lin Zhongtian used her as a cultivation woman and raped her. Even Jiling and Ming Xian didn't believe this, much less Yimo. They had all seen Lin Zhongtian before. There was no way he would rape a girl, but it might really be possible that he used her as a cultivation woman. He was disaster transformation state peak stage, and Qiandai's talent was absurd. Who knew if he would use this girl to break through? My head buzzed at the moment, but I would never believe that he would do such a thing. Qiandai is my disciple, and I know her well. She's a bit arrogant, but she would never lie. I thought Qiandai wanted to use me to help Shandi teach Lin Zhongtian a lesson, but I felt things were wrong. I asked Lin Zhongtian if he raped her. Tang Mingrao's tone went sad and low. Lin Zhongtian said nothing. I was furious. Lin Zhongtian was a role model for cultivators in North Far State, and yet he did such a thing. A 1,000-year-old cultivator raped a 20-year girl. No matter how much he wanted to reach truth realization state, he can't do such a thing. In my fury, I fought Lin Zhongtian as well. Yimo sighed. He felt there was something strange here, but he didn't know exactly what. Tang Mingrao continued. Then you know what happened. We were all heavily injured. Lin Zhongtian fled with Shandi, and when we traced them again, we had no more clues. Then, the beast tide came. The beast tide came too coincidentally. There was the possibility that someone deliberately caused conflict between the 3 cultivators. But according to Tang Mingrao, this was no accident. Yimo frowned. Ao Qiandai had the greatest suspicion for causing all this. If she didn't cry she was being harassed, would he kill Li Qishan? There was nothing else he could do as his power was too low compared to Lin Zhongtian. But Ao Qiandai was just an arrogant girl. She was only 20 and spent most of her time cultivating. How could she have such calculations? Yimo frowned. Tang Mingrao thought it was Yimo being disgusted with Qiandai. After all, she was indeed planning to annihilate Mou. Tang Mingrao explained. Actually, casting away Qiandai's actions towards Mou, you can't really blame her for the other things. After all, she's very young, and the things Lin Zhongtian did were also overboard. He destroyed the dantian of the 5 nascent soul state cultivators without asking anything. One of them was her second uncle. Yimo sneered. Tang Qianbei, I'm calling you Qianbei not because I respect you, but because you protected North Far State all these years. To be honest, you don't deserve to be a Qianbei. If it was me instead of Lin Qianbei, I would kill them all. Looking at her bad face, Yimo sneered again. Then, I would annihilate the entire Ao Chung Merchant Association. As for Yi, would I destroy his dantian? Keep dreaming. I would kill him straight away. Lin Zhongtian Qianbei is too soft. He let out a sigh. Tang Mingrao's face looked bad. Someone like Lin Zhongtian deserves to be human? If it's because of his contributions to North Far State before, then he can indeed be a Qianbei, but someone like him raped my 20-year-old disciple. Even an animal wouldn't do that. Yimo said in contempt. Rape? Did you hear Lin Zhongtian Qianbei say that? If you didn't, then stop saying bullshit. Plus, even if it was rape, who knows if it was your disciple seducing him? Tang Mingrao heard this and got up saying coldly, Yimo, you're crossing the line. Qiandai's actions were a bit over the top, but she didn't do any harm to Mou. Why say such things? You had a bad opinion of her, but you don't need to attack a young girl. Lin Zhongtian didn't deny it. How can it be fake? As for killing Yi, you don't need to kill me. If you have the power, go say it to Shandi. Then, she moved to go outside. I can't afford to sit in your high-level flying magic artifact. I'll go myself. Your kin are people, but not mine. Yimo sat and didn't move. If Tang Mingrao was going to leave, he would open the restriction immediately. He wasn't going to keep such a woman. Ming Xian pulled Tang Mingrao's hands. Tang Qianbei, Yimo isn't such a person. You must have a misunderstanding. Sit down first. Blue Moon is a half-immortal artifact. It's very smart. It can reach North Far State in half a month. Tang Mingrao was dazed. She didn't expect Blue Moon was a half-immortal artifact, but she didn't keep leaving anymore. Seeing this, Ming Xian breathed easy and looked carefully at Yimo. Yimo, I know you wouldn't say such words without reason. Tell us your reasoning. Yimo sneered. It's simple. Ao Chung Merchant Association conspired with spirit beasts to trick golden core state cultivators out into the deep sea and harvest their golden cores. Those cultivators not only need golden core, but also the cultivator's essence blood. I don't know if nascent soul state cultivators have been traded. What? Tang Mingrao looked at Yimo in disbelief. Who dared to do that? Was the Ao Chung Merchant Association crazy? Moments later she calmed down and looked at Yimo. Yimo, what right do you have to say this? You went to South Peace State, so how would you know? Yimo said coldly, because I saw it with my own eyes. I was collecting herbs on the Heartless Sea and I saw Ao Chung Merchant Association's huge ship. Their elder How was reaching nascent soul state, so the ship was parked and 2 golden core state cultivators saw my flying spirit artifact. They wanted to invite me on board, but I rejected. There were hundreds of golden core state cultivators on there, all gathered by the Ao Chung Merchant Association. A few months later, I saw 2 cultivators fighting on the way back. One of them was a golden core state level 8 brought to the deep sea by the Ao Chung Merchant Association. The other was a golden core state level 8 from Ao Chung Merchant Association. They were fighting because the golden core state level 8 escaped. He ran from the 100 cultivators traded to the spirit beasts. What? Tang Mingrao knew Yimo wouldn't be lying, but she was shocked again. Yimo continued. After the golden core state level 8 escaped, he was going to bring the news back to North Far State. But he was hunted and had nowhere to go. He met me and wanted me to bring the news back. I'm a lazy person, so I killed the Ao Chung Merchant Association's person and told him to bring the news himself. Yimo stared at Tang Mingrao and said word by word, that cultivator is called Li Qishan, the one killed by the #1 prodigy of Wang Yu sect. You tell me if I would kill him when I see him? This scum killed Li Qishan, who risked his life to bring back the news. Yet Lin Zhongtian Qian Bei just destroyed his Dantian. He went too easy on him. Tang Mingrao heard this and stood up dazedly, murmuring, wrong. We were all wrong. At this moment, Tang Mingrao realized that regardless of whether Lin Zhongtian raped Ao Qianai or not, it wasn't important anymore. They were all schemed against. At this moment, Tang Mingrao realized that regardless of whether Lin Zhongtian raped Ao Qianai or not, it wasn't important anymore. They were all schemed against. Ao Chung Merchant Association dared to sell golden core state cultivators to spirit beasts. They had become enemies of humanity. Lin Zhongtian could only destroy the 5 cultivators Dantian in such a situation. He was already being very lenient. If it was her, she would kill those 5 nascent soul state cultivators without hesitation and destroy Ao Chung Merchant Association completely. No wonder Yimo said he would kill Yi straight away. The heroic righteous cultivator Li Qishan was killed by Yi under the provocation of a woman. How could he not be furious? Still, Tang Mingrao felt something was wrong. Did Yi really kill Li Qishan under Chindia's provocation? Then, this would make Lin Zhongtian kill Yi, resulting in her and Shandi attacking Lin Zhongtian? Shandi was only in her 20s. How could she have such schemes? This was impossible. When Shandi was fighting Lin Zhongtian, she said she was raped by him. Then, she would fight Lin Zhongtian as well. If this was really calculated, then it was all chained together. Tang Mingrao shook her head. She wouldn't believe this was all a coincidence. The only thing Yimo didn't understand was why Lin Zhongtian didn't defend himself when Ao Qianai said he raped her. Why did he take her away at the last moment? There was no way a disaster transformation state, peak stage cultivator couldn't even control something as insignificant as lust. But he wasn't too sure about the cultivation woman part, as he didn't know Lin Zhongtian that well. Who knew if he went crazy for once to reach truth realization state? Yimo suddenly asked, Sect Leader Tang, when did the marriage between Yi and Ao Qianai get proposed? Who brought it up? Hearing Yimo call her Sect Leader Tang, she felt a little sad but replied immediately, 10 years ago. I went to Wang Yu sect to find Martial Brother Shandi. Qindai wanted to go with me no matter what. After we came back, Martial Brother Shandi brought Yi over to propose. I asked Qindai and she was fine with it. How old was she 10 years ago? Yimo asked. Tang Mingrao answered. She was 22. This meant that she reached Hollow Spirit State peak stage at 27. She was indeed a prodigy. Is Yi very handsome? Yimo asked. Tang Mingrao shook her head. No, Yi is very average-looking, with a square face and thin eyes. But he's indeed the prodigy of North Far State. Yimo sneered. Sect leader Tang also knows of the matters between men and women. You know what young girls and boys love. Tang Mingrao heard this and blushed. She never actually experienced it. Ao Chindia's actions have holes in them. If she really cared about her family, she wouldn't know of her brother's death only a few years later. Even if she didn't know, there was no way her father wouldn't tell her. Is it very hard to send news into the Jade Woman sect? If not, this is very suspicious. Tang Mingrao heard this and was shook. It was all too easy for the Ao Qing Merchant Association to send news into the Jade Woman sect. Plus, Qindai was the prodigy of the sect. Who would dare to hide news of her family from her? Minghanan said again, if Ao Qindai really caused this, I suspect that the news of Li Qishan finding Lin Zhongtian Qianbei already fell in her ears, so she want to pay High City first. Tang Mingrao felt more uncomfortable hearing this. If this was all true, then they were the culprits for the attack on Pei High City and Broken Leaf City. Yimo asked, Sect leader Tang, a few years ago during the Beast Tide, you left with a heavy injury and a powerful being came to Pei High City. Did that powerful being stop the spirit beast attack? Who is he and what's his power level? Tang Mingrao replied, yes, that cultivator is also a disaster transformation state cultivator. His power is on par with mine. On the surface, there are only 3 disaster transformation state tertiary stage cultivators in North Far State, but there are some that hiding in cultivation. Even during the beast tides, they usually don't come out. Do you think that cultivator would be able to protect Pei High City? Yimo asked. Tang Mingrao shook her head. I don't know. I also was thinking about this. I think he probably can. Yimo knew there was no point in asking further and could only speed Blue Moon up as much as possible. Ming Xin could see the worry in Yimo's eyes, and she suddenly said, with Blue Moon's speed, we can reach North Far State in half a month. Ming Xin could see the worry in Yimo's eyes, and she suddenly said, with Blue Moon's speed, we can reach North Far State in half a month. Yimo immediately got up. I'm going to cultivate for half a month. Hopefully I can reach cauldron-filling state tertiary stage. Seeing this, Tang Mingrao and Ming Xin and Guang Wei looked at each other. Reaching cauldron-filling state tertiary stage from cauldron-filling state level 6 in half a month? This was too absurd, but the other people didn't seem surprised. After a long while, Tang Mingrao looked at Ji Ling in confusion. Ji Qianbei, Yimo's talent has indeed never seen before, but breaking through to cauldron-filling state tertiary stage in half a month, this seems... Ji Ling laughed. I won't believe other people, but I wouldn't doubt anything happening to Brother Yimo. Even if he says he can break through to disaster transformation state in half a month, I don't believe that's impossible. Hearing this, Tang Mingrao and them were speechless. Yimo thought he might need to face high-level spirit beasts or Shandi after he reached North Far State. He might be no match for Shandi even if he reached cauldron-filling state tertiary stage, but it was better for him the more powerful he was. After going into the Golden Page world, Yimo was prepared to use the extreme-grade spirit range. He could use extreme-grade spirit stones, but it wouldn't make the time formation disc run that fast. This meant the time formation disc wouldn't reach 12 times speed on extreme-grade spirit stones. 13 days passed quickly, and Yimo stopped cultivation. In 4 months or so, he used large amounts of cauldron essence pills and stalagmite benefit pills and barely reached cauldron-filling state level 7. Reaching cauldron-filling state tertiary stage, Yimo felt a drastic increase in cultivation essence. His spirit sense increased, and his understanding of domains also deepened. The reason Yimo stopped was because he wasted too many things. If these things were given to someone else, they might even be able to reach disaster transformation state from Qi gathering, but he wasted that in 4 months. Coming out of the Golden Page world, Yimo felt Blue Moon slow. He came to the front. Tang Mingrao looked at Yimo in shock. You really just used 2 weeks to reach cauldron-filling state level 7? Yimo nodded and looked at the island outside in shock. We're already at Peichi Island. Why is it like this? Yimo had been here once before. This was a rather prosperous place, and he bought the Dihua beast core here. But now, this place was in shambles and ruins. There were no human cultivators, and hardly any spirit beasts either. This is North Far State. After this island is Pei Hai City. This island was swept clean in the beast tide. There are no cultivators here anymore. In the past, the island would have been rebuilt soon after the beast tide. But now this still hasn't been rebuilt, meaning the beast tide isn't over, Ming Xian replied. Yimo sped up Blue Moon, and in just 15 minutes, Pei Hai City appeared before them. A bloody smell lingered in the air. The formations around Pei Hai City were tattered but not shattered. Yimo could tell by the marks that there were masters repairing them. Yimo and the other spirit senses couldn't reach inside due to the formations and restrictions. There were a lot of spirit beasts surrounding the city, but they didn't attack. The city door was covered in blood and broken magic artifacts, but there were no bodies. Yimo breathed easy. At least the city wasn't broken now. He was a level 9 formation grandmaster. He could tell that the Pei Hai City had lasted a few years. Even if they didn't come, the city could last another half a year. But it was hard to say beyond that. Martial brother Yimo. This city hasn't been broken in yet, Guangwei exclaimed. She knew Yimo was worried about the city. Ming Xian nodded. It's more ruined than before. If we didn't come, it might not last more than a few months. Yimo agreed and scanned his spirit sense out. There were a lot of spirit beasts here, but not a lot of high-level ones. There were only 2 disaster transformation state middle stage beast cultivators, and more than 10 cauldron-filling states who were level 9 beasts. The rest were below level 9. There was a difference between spirit beasts and beast cultivators. Other than rare powerful spirit beasts, most spirit beasts would have a divine damnation to morph into humans at level 9 peak to become beast cultivators. Spirit beasts that cultivated to level 11 and 12, but still retained their spirit beast bodies were more powerful than beast cultivators of the same level. With the power of this beast tide, it wasn't even enough to take on an 8-star sect in South Peace State. But in the North Far State, it was enough to take on more than half the state. Yimo felt a little easier, but seeing the Skylock formation outside the city, his mood worsened. The Skylock formation could lock the nearby space, making teleportation formation useless. The spirit beasts and beast cultivators set this up to stop Pei Hai City's cultivators from escaping. Yimo left a safe passage for MOU's people, and that was the teleportation formation. Now that the space was locked, the teleportation formation would be useless. Blue Moon came outside the city immediately, and those spirit beasts noticed Blue Moon's arrival. The 2 disaster transformation state beast cultivators signaled the spirit beasts to keep attacking the city while they flew towards Blue Moon. The Pei Hai City cultivators released their magic artifacts and used formations to defend against the attack. Explosions sounded all over the city again and blood flew through the air. Every time cultivators or spirit beasts were killed, more would take their place. Yimo's spirit sense immediately scanned to Li Jingwen. He was nascent soul state level 3 now, and fended off spirit beasts in one corner with a few cultivators wearing MOU's uniform. Then, he noticed Yiling and Jin Shaoshan behind him. He felt a little warm. Yiling wasn't as timid and soft as before. She was decisive in killing and was golden core state power. Their use of cultivation essence and spirit sense was very fluent. Yimo sighed. Trouble made people grow. Yiling would be fine roaming North Far State herself now. Seeing the 2 disaster transformation state beast cultivators come, Yimo glanced at Tang Mingrao. Sect leader Tang, I'll leave one of them to you? Tang Mingrao nodded. Ji Qian Bei's pills are very good. My wounds are completely healed. Jai Ling nodded. I'll take the remaining one. Meng Hanan looked at Yimo. What about me? Yimo pointed at those level 9 spirit beasts. You can take on those with Air Taa, Tong, and Ming Xian and also man the ship. Tongyi immediately felt unhappy. Yimo, are you not letting me fight because I'm beast cultivator? I kill spirit beasts every day in the Heartless Sea. How can I watch? RTA, let's fight. Otherwise we'll have nothing left if Yemo goes in. Then, Tang Yi released his golden dragon drill and charged into the spirit beast crowd. Bianfengta followed too. The two disaster transformation state beast cultivators saw Jiling's disaster transformation state peak stage power and were shocked. Who other than Lin Zhongtian and Shandi in North Far State had such power? As for Tang Mingrao, they had also recognized her. They immediately realized this was Tang Mingrao's helper. With the help of such masters, numbers were pointless. But before they could order the beast tide to retreat, Jiling and Tang Mingrao released their magic artifacts. Yemo didn't go help right now. He was flying to the outskirts and taking out formation flags and spirit stones to set up formations. Yemo hated these beasts' tides that came once in a few years, so he was going to end their roots. The spirit beasts that came here were high-level. Low-level spirit beasts wouldn't participate in beast tides. Now, he set up a level 7 trap formation, so he could net them all. Even if there was another beast tide, it would be a few hundred years later. Yemo didn't go help right now. He was flying to the outskirts and taking out formation flags and spirit stones to set up formations. Yemo hated these beasts' tides that came once in a few years, so he was going to end their roots. The spirit beasts that came here were high-level. Low-level spirit beasts wouldn't participate in beast tides. Now, he set up a level 7 trap formation, so he could net them all. Even if there was another beast tide, it would be a few hundred years later. It was really no pressure for Yemo to set up a level 7 formation now. At this moment, on the city wall, many cultivators saw a flying magic artifact and a few cultivators coming out of it. But the main thing was, they came to help the city. More cultivators came to help. The city had been trapped for a few years and cultivators came to help incessantly these few years, but most of them were flooded by the beast tide before they even reached the city gates. Some who made it instead needed cultivators from inside the city to help. Every time, the cultivators who went to help would be trapped, and that cultivator would be lost too. Thus, the Peihai city didn't expect cultivators to help anymore. For this reason, Yemo's group's arrival didn't cause much joy, but instead made the cultivators feel helpless. Soon, some cultivators found that the cultivators who came to help were different this time. One Golden Core State cultivator pointed at Tang Mingrao and called out, "Everyone look! Isn't that Jade Woman sect's Tang Qianbei?" Most cultivators indeed saw Tang Mingrao had come back. Then they saw Jiling, who fought with another disaster transformation state beast cultivator, and Ming Hanan, who easily killed cauldron-filling state cultivators, as well as Tang and RTAA, who slaughtered level 8 spirit beasts. Soon, the cultivators realized that the reinforcements this time were very substantial. Instantly, Peihai City rejoiced and more cultivators helped kill spirit beasts. One disaster transformation state middle stage cultivator also flew out from the city and protected a cauldron-filling state cultivator to repair the city defense formations. With this, the cultivators' morale raised and the battle wasn't one-sided anymore. Yiling also saw the reinforcements, but soon she stared straight at Emo, who was setting up formation. A level 5 spirit beast shot out a water arrow, and she even forgot to block it. Jin Shaoshan quickly helped her and pulled Yiling. Yiling, we have reinforcements, but we can't lower our guard. What's wrong? Yiling murmured, "That's my brother Yemo. He's back. He's really back." Jin Shaoshan's spirit sense also saw Yemo. It was indeed Brother Yi. She also exclaimed joyfully, "It's real. Brother Yi is back." Li Jingwen and them also saw Yemo now and were overjoyed. Yiling was immediately about to charge out, but Jin Shaoshan quickly pulled her back. There are so many spirit beasts outside. For those lower than body condensation state, going out is suicide. Your brother can easily move about the countless spirit beasts. Clearly, he's body condensation state. He's so fast in cultivation. Look, Tang Mingrao Qianbei is back too. As long as we hold out here, the city will be fine. Brother Yi will enter the city too. Yiling heard this and calmed down a little, but she was still very excited. At this moment, all the cultivators felt some change in the entire space. Some low-level cultivators didn't notice, but high-level cultivators and spirit beasts noticed this. Jiling also saw that Yimo had set up a level 7 trap formation and the formation had closed. Jiling was dazed but immediately realized what Yimo was doing. He wanted to kill all the spirit beasts. But Jiling didn't understand. Yimo was strong, but it wasn't a good idea to trap all these spirit beasts, despite a lot of them being low-level. He only had a slight upper hand against the beast cultivator he was battling, and this was mainly because his body was just rebuilt and his essence spirit wasn't completely in unison with the body. As for Tang Mingrao, she only had a slight upper hand too, as her cultivation essence hadn't completely recovered yet. However, Meng Hanan, Tang Yi, and Bian Fengta were utterly crushing their opponents without any pressure. Just when Ji Ling wanted to remind Yimo to open a hole to prevent the spirit beast from kamikaze attacks, Yimo jumped into the beast tide and raised his hands. Moments later, the place Yimo stood grew dark, and there was the roar of thunder. Countless fine lightning swords were released by Yimo, raining from the sky like heavy rain. Yimo's lightning sword was an initial completion. The lightning arcs were thicker than infant arms. His lightning sword not only had formation power, but also space confinement. This was no different than divine damnation. His lightning sword was divine damnation itself. But Yimo wasn't going to use baby arm-sized lightning arcs for these low-level spirit beasts. It was a waste. He separated one lightning sword into more than 10. Despite this, its power was devastating. It was just a little taxing on spirit sense, but Yimo had a lot of spirit recovery pills. He wasn't afraid of spirit sense depletion. It was a lightning sword rain, black lightning sword rain. More than 300 arcs were sent out that covered a radius of 50 meters. The lightning swords flashed non-stop in never-ending fashion. The spirit beasts caught in this area were instantly wiped clean. This formed an empty space amongst the beast tide. Blood and burnt smells filled the place. The area outside the city had become a carnage realm. This scene shocked all the cultivators and spirit beast. Since when had they seen such terrifying magic? This wasn't magic at all. This was divine punishment. Rumble, endless black lightning swords rained down and large areas of spirit beasts were harvested away. The living beings who still fought stopped. They had never seen such a terrifying scene. The spirit beasts dissipated in large areas. In just half a minute, the insides and outsides of the city were in complete chaos. Some low-level spirit beasts didn't know what was going on and thought there was a natural disaster. They all ran away. It was pointless even when high-level spirit beasts tried to stop them. Tang Mingrao was dazed. She knew Yimo was lightning style, but she had never thought his lightning style magic was this devastating. This dense beast tide wasn't even enough for him to slaughter. If such a terrifying lightning cultivator was going to annihilate Jade Woman sect, Tang Mingrao didn't dare to keep imagining. Ji Ling and Meng Hanan also shook their heads in shock. The Pei High City cultivators even felt sorry for these spirit beasts now. Such terrifying magic. The only disaster transformation state cultivator in Pei High City completely forgot what he was doing as he watched Yimo's lightning sword rain slowly down. The cauldron-filling state repairing the formation also stopped. He knew he didn't need to do it anymore. The spirit beasts were like clueless flies trying to ram outside. Plus, with the mountains of spirit beasts the black lightning swords killed, Pei High City was very safe now. The cauldron-filling state repairing the formation also stopped. He knew he didn't need to do it anymore. The spirit beasts were like clueless flies trying to ram outside. Plus, with the mountains of spirit beasts the black lightning swords killed, Pei High City was very safe now. Chi Ziyu wasn't even able to talk now. He watched in a daze as Yimo sprayed out lightning sword rain. After a long while, he woke up and said to the dazed cultivator next to him, "Quick, go tell Song Yangzhu and Su Jingguan from MOU that Master Yi is back." Chi Ziyu breathed easily. "Luckily, I didn't make a mistake before." The spirit beasts were in pandemonium. They had no interest in attacking the city at all. They all just wanted to run outside. However, the area was trapped by Yimo's trap formation, and those spirit beasts were all blocked. Yimo rained down lightning swords without mercy. Eventually, He seemed to be in the same situation as when he killed metal spine crocodiles in the Herb Valley. He had completely forgotten he was killing spirit beasts. As his lightning sword rained down faster and faster, he even closed his eyes as though he was communicating with the world around him. This time, EMO indeed had another enlightenment. He felt his lightning sword reached a certain level. If he went beyond this level, his lightning sword would be in great completion and its power would far surpass initial completion. EMO seemed like a machine raining down lightning swords non-stop. At this time, the two disaster transformation state beast cultivators reacted. They knew that if this continued, all the spirit beasts would be dead. They couldn't care about fighting Jiling and Tang Mingrao anymore. They charged at EMO together. But how could Jiling and Tang Mingrao let the two do as they wished? They stopped the two beast cultivators. The rest of the cauldron-filling state beast cultivators and level 9 spirit beasts also felt EMO's threat and wanted to stop him. But how could Ming Hanan let that happen? She slaughtered them mercilessly. A few hours later, everyone was watching the direction of the endless lightning sword rain and the countless mourning spirit beasts. Stop, we'll leave Peihai City. Stop. The two disaster transformation state middle stage called out worriedly. But EMO couldn't hear them anymore. He had sunk into a peculiar state. He felt the other type of lightning sword's power, lightning state. EMO had never heard of nor seen this state, but he felt it now. He had a feeling that if he completely mastered this state, his lightning sword would be able to do whatever he wanted. He would be able to control the opponent's weakness, using the least effort to reach maximum effect. He also began to realize the meaning of will state. Will state meant two states. The first state was will. It was like his illusion cloud exert will strike. He would control his sword ray with his will to bind someone's movements. Will was very hard to reach, but if you understood it then you did. It was impossible to teach. EMO thought will state was just will, but now he realized state and will were different. Will was an understanding and control of self. State was understanding and controlling your opponent's weakness. If he completely understood state, then he could casually use his magic and sword techniques to attack the opponent's weakness. One of magic's will state reached a very high level. He could easily counter an opponent's lethal blow and win. It was a great help in fighting people above your level. As lightning sword rained down, EMO's understanding of state grew. Eventually, he easily threw down lightning sword casually and large areas of spirit beasts were harvested. He didn't even need to scan with spirit sense to know which position to attack. The two disaster transformation state cultivators grew more and more desperate. One of them was hacked into a bloody mist by Jiling, who got more and more used to his body. Seeing this, the other disaster transformation state beast cultivator knew that this was going to sever the spirit beast's foundation. Despite knowing the severity of the situation, there was nothing he could do. He could only howl and send a messenger flying sword before fleeing. Tang Mingrao was a disaster transformation state tertiary stage cultivator after all. When this beast cultivator wanted to flee, she found his weakness and sliced off his head. However, his essence spirit fled away. Now, there was only EMO fighting and countless spirit beasts that ran around in a frenzy. No one could go help him as the lightning sword would also kill the cultivators who went near it. But no cultivator worried as they all knew the beast tide was over. EMO annihilated spirit beasts so fast, but there were just too many spirit beasts. He still hadn't even killed 10% yet. Luckily, the high-level spirit beasts were killed. Tang and Bianfengta and them also helped to kill these low-level spirit beasts, but they weren't nearly as fast as EMO. Broken Leaf City was much more prosperous than Peihai City. Its defense formations were also much higher level. It was a level 9 formation, but now, they also faced countless spirit beasts. The spirit beasts attacking here were much stronger than the ones attacking Peihai City. There were 3 disaster transformation state beast cultivators, 1 disaster transformation state tertiary stage. Although there were much more high-level cultivators here than Peihai City, the situation was worse than that of Peihai City. If it wasn't for a level 9 defense formation, disaster transformation state level 9 Shandi, and a level 8 formation Grandmaster, the city would have long been destroyed. At the same time, on an island in the Heartless Sea, A red-haired beast cultivator was standing on a coral looking at the direction of Broken Leaf City. It was the nearest island to the city. There was a female cultivator behind him, and she seemed very gentle. The beast cultivator turned around wanting to say something to the female cultivator, but suddenly a red flying sword flew over. The beast cultivator caught it and took out a jade slip. He looked at it casually and suddenly his face changed drastically. He immediately charged up into the sky and flew towards the continent. The female cultivator saw that the beast cultivator flew towards North Far State, and her face was also shocked. As soon as he rose into the air, a gray figure stopped him. An old man stood in midair. "Kongyi, is there a point in stopping me? Even if I don't go to Broken Leaf City, it will fall in 2 months. You have a chance to reach higher states. Why trouble yourself with such things?" The red-haired beast cultivator asked calmly. Kongyi said calmly, "As long as the city hasn't fallen for 1 day, then I can't let you go. You also had an agreement with North Far State. Truth realization states must not be involved in the beast tide. But now, why are you going to the North Far State's land?" The beast cultivator said coldly, "That agreement was many years ago. Now there are no cultivation resources at the border of the Heartless Sea. The place where North Far State beast cultivators stay are also becoming arid in spirit chi after countless years. Only I've reached truth realization state, and I'm only a truth realization state primary stage. If this continues, there will no longer be a place for beast cultivators in the North Far State. I don't ask for much. I just want human cultivators to share equally with beast cultivator the spirit chi arid places in North Far State." Kongyi said calmly, "Anywhere in North Far State is arid in spirit chi. If you want a place with good spirit chi, then you can go to West Store State. That's cultivation heaven. Split North Far State equally? Chisia, I believe you know how West Store State became beast cultivator land. It's because they split land with spirit beasts, and now the human cultivators are living on the outskirts." Chijia said coldly, "West Store State? Kongyi, you really can imagine. Do you think we can cross the Heartless Sea to West Store State with our power? Do you want us to die? Plus, is the West Store State a place that spirit beasts can go to? West Store State becoming spirit beast land was countless years ago. Now, even spirit beasts don't dare to venture into the depth of West Store State." Kongyi said calmly, "If I could stop you for 100 years, I can stop you for 1,000 years. Red-haired beast cultivator said again, "Okay, Kongyi, I'll make the spirit beast leave Broken Leaf City now, and this beast tide will end now. Now will you believe me?" Red-haired beast cultivator said again, "Okay, Kongyi, I'll make the spirit beast leave Broken Leaf City now, and this beast tide will end now. Now will you believe me?" Kongyi nodded. "Okay, let your spirit beast retreat first." The red-haired beast cultivator immediately sent a messenger flying sword. After that, he looked at Kongyi. "Kongyi, I've sent the messenger flying sword now. Can I go?" The beast cultivator was helpless. It wasn't that he couldn't go, but he didn't dare to make things troublesome with Kongyi. Kongyi's power was on par with his. If he didn't follow the agreement, Kongyi could just attack the spirit beasts and beast cultivators attacking Broken Leaf City. Kongyi shook his head. "It's good that the spirit beasts can leave Broken Leaf City, but according to the agreement you can't go into North Far State. Kongyi, you're cheating me?" The red-haired beast cultivator's power rose drastically and a golden sword appeared in his hand. Kongyi didn't say anything, but a cauldron appeared above his head. Looking at this, the red-haired beast cultivator suppressed his anger and said, "Kongyi, you've been a very honest person. Why are you going back on your words today?" Kongyi replied, "I said you could retreat your beast cultivators, but I didn't agree to let you go North Far State." The beast cultivator seemed to know that even if they fought he won't be able to beat Kongyi, and even if he could it wouldn't be fast, so he stopped. A few hours later, countless spirit beasts left Broken Leaf City and went back into the Heartless Sea. Instead, that red-haired beast cultivator went back into Techa's Heartless Sea as well. Seeing this, Kongyi frowned and after a long while, he disappeared. 15 minutes later, A disaster transformation state, tertiary stage beast cultivator appeared before the red-haired beast cultivator. He looked at the disaster transformation state beast cultivator and said, "Pei High City has encountered an issue. I need to go over immediately. Don't fight here. Wait till I come back." "Yes." The disaster transformation state tertiary stage replied respectfully. The red-haired beast cultivator nodded and took out an instant transmission rune, looking at it for a long while before sighing and activating the rune. This rune had no space ripples, so Kong Yi wouldn't be able to know, but it was just too precious. Even he only had one. It was practically a second life. If he used other space teleportation runes, Kong Yi would immediately know. Outside Pei High City, Yimo was slaughtering large amounts of spirit beasts. They kept wanting to break out of Yimo's trap formation, but the area of the lightning sword was getting larger and larger. There were also more injuries as well. If Yimo continued this, it would only be half a day before he would slaughter these spirit beasts clean. At this moment, there was a sharp howl, and Yimo opened his eyes. He stopped his lightning sword rain as that sharp howl woke him up. He had a new understanding of state, but before he could organize his thoughts, a faint red sword light hacked at Yimo's trap formation. The trap formation that countless spirit beasts couldn't break free from was hacked open. With this, countless spirit beasts rushed out, but that howl sounded again. All the spirit beasts heard this and calmed down. They left Yimo's trap formation in an orderly fashion. Although Yimo slaughtered nearly a third of the spirit beasts himself, there were still countless spirit beasts exiting. Yimo was shook. He knew this howl was made by a truth realization state cultivator. Otherwise, his sword light wouldn't come before himself. As soon as Yimo had this thought, the red-haired cultivator appeared before Yimo. Yimo's eyes jumped rapidly. It was a truth realization state level 2 beast cultivator. "Husband." "Yimo." Two crisp voices sounded. Yimo immediately knew they belonged to Yangzhu and Jingwen. His heart rested easy. At least they were fine. But Yimo didn't turn back. He was very calm facing this truth realization state cultivator. He knew if he was killed by this truth realization state beast cultivator, Pei High City would turn to dust. What he didn't understand was why Pei High City was trapped for a few years when there was a truth realization state beast cultivator. It was very easy for a truth realization state beast cultivator to annihilate Pei High City. "If I came later, were you going to kill them all?" The red-haired cultivator looked at the ground covered in spirit beast bodies and the burning bloody smell in the air. His tone was extremely furious. Jiling and Tang Mengrao, as well as Ming Hanan, also stood behind Yimo. They looked vigilantly at this truth realization state level 2 beast cultivator. There was nothing they could do against a truth realization state beast cultivator. They were also confused why this beast cultivator didn't come earlier. Yimo released Zisu and Octagonal Cauldron, saying coldly, "What's your logic? The spirit beasts were attacking Pei High City. Can the people not retaliate? Do you think your spirit beasts have more royal blood and can dictate the life and death of other cultivators?" The beast cultivator sneered. "Wanbei, you're a mere cauldron-filling state, and you dare to be cocky in front of me. Do you believe I can kill you and destroy Pei High City before that old guy comes?" Yimo sneered and replied, "If you want to fight, then hurry up." Then, he activated his cultivation essence and ripples of purple formed. "You're bold. You can die then." The truth realization state beast cultivator was furious and just grabbed at Yimo. This wasn't Yimo's first time he fought a truth realization state, but Miao Huizheng was heavily injured, so she was a far cry compared to this truth realization state primary stage. Yimo saw the cultivation essence giant hand, and an extreme sense of dissatisfaction rose up. This guy wanted to crush him to death with his hand, just because he had stronger power. The truth realization state from Infinity Sect did the same in the Black Ice Sect. In his fury, Yimo just hacked out with Zisu. Illusion Cloud Hua Mountain Strike. Rumble the purple ray hacked on the cultivation essence giant hand and made two heavy thuds. Cultivation essence splashed out. Space itself made cracking sounds as though collapsing under the force of the clash. Meanwhile, Yimo was sent flying kilometers away by this. He spat blood in midair. Yimo's heart sunk. Although he was cauldron-filling state tertiary stage, he was instantly defeated by the truth realization state. He knew from that clash that even if he used all his means, he wouldn't be able to take on this beast cultivator. Ji Ling and Tang Mingrao's face changed. They retreated. Even they couldn't deal with this space collapse. Ji Ling was worried the most. He couldn't even take on truth realization state cultivator strike before. How could Yi Mo do it? The truth realization state beast cultivator saw that Yi Mo hacked his cultivation essence giant hand apart and just paid the price of spitting blood and was shocked. But immediately, the truth realization state beast cultivator sneered and raised his hand. A faint red appeared in his hand that turned into two sharp rays hacking towards Yi Mo. As soon as it was hacked out, it seemed to have locked everything around Yi Mo. Yet in the wake of such a powerful attack, Yi Mo didn't retreat and went in instead hacking out with Zisu. Seeing this, everyone's face changed. Yi Mo hacked in the completely wrong direction. Yi Mo wasn't trying to suicide, of course. This strike was illusion cloud domain shattering strike. It would shatter the opponent's domain and form his own. Yi Mo wasn't trying to suicide, of course. This strike was illusion cloud domain shattering strike. It would shatter the opponent's domain and form his own. He didn't know where this beast cultivator's domain was, but he had an understanding of the basic state. This strike wasn't charged at the sword light, but the weakness in the domain. The beast cultivator saw this and snarled. A mere cauldron-filling state cultivator dared to fight a truth realization state cultivator? When his sword went into his domain, he would know there was nothing he could do but await death. But soon, his snarl condensed. He found that Yi Mo's purple sword rays had gone into his domain but didn't slow down one bit. Instead, they spread out, forming a purple veil. Then, it seemed something was beginning to shatter. What was going on? His domain couldn't bind this strike? The next moment, the truth realization state beast cultivator was more shocked. His sword was beginning to slow down and lost the support of his domain. The beast cultivator immediately realized what was going on. This was domain as well. This cauldron-filling state insect had his own domain. It was a domain in initial completion. That wasn't all. His strike not only shattered his domain but also bound his sword. How did he know the weakness in his domain? Only the cultivator himself would know the weakness of his domain, and yet this cauldron-filling state knew the weakness in his domain and used that to counterattack. Was that random, or did he really know? The truth realization state beast cultivator was furious and didn't hold back anymore. He used tins of hand signs. Waves of twisted air were sent out. Yi Mo's purple sword rays broke the domain but were still blocked by this twisted cultivation essence waves. Soon, the purple withered and dissipated. The beast cultivator's strike was still rapid without the support of his domain, and two waves of red hacked onto the octagonal cauldron. With some rumbling sounds, the octagonal cauldron shook and Yi Mo was sent flying and spitting blood again. Yi Mo sighed. Despite having an understanding of state, the difference in power was too great. Seeing Yi Mo fly out spitting blood again, Song Yangzhu and Yi Ling and them screamed. Ji Ling and Tang Mingrao breathed easy. Yi Mo didn't get killed in that domain. They were both more shocked at Yi Mo's power. He was facing a truth realization state cultivator. Yi Mo was just a cauldron-filling state tertiary stage. Even if they went up, there was nothing they could do but await death. They were sure that if Yi Mo reached truth realization state, he would have no enemies in the entire Luoyu continent. But how was he going to live through the calamity today? The truth realization state beast cultivator sneered. You have some tricks, but this ends now. But as soon as he said that, his face changed and sneered in midair. Don't let me see you again. Then he just left. Everyone didn't understand why this beast cultivator suddenly left when he had the complete upper hand. But everyone breathed easy. Seeing this, Yi Mo also sneered, thinking, I should be the one to say that. Suddenly, he felt a wave in the air. He looked over immediately and heard a voice. Yi Mo, you're very great. In a few years' time, you've come this far. The 100-year deal can be shortened to half. Hearing this voice, Yi Mo was shook. He knew who this person was. It was Kong Yi. Kong Yi could scare off that beast cultivator, Clearly, he was a truth realization state cultivator too. Yimo never expected the low-profile Kong Yi was the real #1 power in North Far State. He thought Kong Yi wasn't as strong as Lin Zhongtian before, but now it seems he was greatly mistaken. He bowed in midair and didn't say anything. He had a deal with Kong Yi, but now he was cauldron-filling state tertiary stage, and Kong Yi just shortened the time to half. One could see how much hope Kong Yi had for him when he made the deal. Yi Imo thought of the moment when he first saw old man Kong Yi in Broken Leaf City. His care and support for him made Yi Imo feel very warm at heart. Probably no one in North Far State expected Kong Yi was truth realization state. Kong Yi didn't appear, clearly not wanting others to know his identity. Yi Imo also realized why the truth realization state beast cultivator didn't attack himself. There was also a truth realization state cultivator guarding North Far State. The spirit beasts all left, and the entire Pei High City rejoiced. Yi Ling and them couldn't resist and ran towards Yi Imo. They thought they would be able to see Yi Imo in 3 years, but multiple times that duration had gone by. Yi Ling ran into Yi Imo's arms. Song Yangzhu and Su Jingwen didn't talk, but the longing and softness in their eyes nearly melted Yi Imo. Su Jingwen grabbed Yi Imo's hand. She had been cultivating non-stop, just so she could be with Yi Imo, and so she could go back and visit her mother. If that couldn't be realized, what was the point of cultivating to the peak for her? If it wasn't for the company of Yi Ling and Song Yangzhu, they would have collapsed. She really couldn't get used to this endless cultivation. She didn't like how lives were worthless in the cultivation realm. Now that she saw Yi Imo again, she had 1,000 things to say, but where should she begin? Yi Imo grabbed her hand. Jingwen, you're already nascent soul state middle stage. Su Jingwen interrupted and said firmly, Yi Imo, let's be together no matter where you go. I will follow. I can't bear this waiting anymore. I don't care about cultivation level. I just want to be with you. I just want to visit Ninghai. I'm scared here. I. She was brave at the start of the sentence, but couldn't finish it. She who never killed had to spirit beasts every day. She remembered the first time she killed a spirit beast. She kept vomiting non-stop. She was really tired of this life. Okay, we'll go back and be together forever. Yi Imo pulled Su Jingwen and then pulled Song Yangzhu. Yangzhu, I came back to North Far State this time to take you guys with me. Don't worry, I will find Yimo and we'll go to South P State together. Qingxue, Susu and Beiwei are all there. Meichem, Song Yangzhu could control her emotions a little more. Due to this family reunion, everyone moved to the side. Seeing the 3 girls calm down, Yi Imo brought them to Ji Ling and them, introducing them. Ji Ling smiled. I already know, when I came to Pei High City, they were all here but you. Meng Hanan smiled. Martial brother Ye's 2 wives are both extreme rare beauties in the world. His sister is also very beautiful. Sister Tang, can your disciple Qiandai be more pretty than Jingwen? It was Tang Mingrao's first time seeing Su Jingwen, and she was also shocked at her beauty. Her beauty was innate and far from the gloating and arrogant beauty of Qiandai, but she still felt her disciple was prettier than Su Jingwen. Before they went into the city, Qi Ziyu rushed up and saluted with his fists. Sect leader Yi, luckily we have you. Otherwise the city wouldn't last long. It's the city's honor that Imo you can stay here. Then he saluted to Tang Mingrao, and Ji Ling smiled and waved. He was disaster transformation state, but never showed an attitude. Many cultivators who came with Ji Ling before were contemptuous to talk to Qi Ziyu. Yi Imo waved his hand. City Lord Qi, you're too polite. Let's go in first. The cultivators started repairing the city and clearing the battlefield. Other than a few spirit beasts, most of the spirit beasts didn't even have a beast core left. Yi Imo suddenly thought cultivator who guarded Pei High City for 5 years. He was very grateful to this cultivator. City Lord Qi, I heard a disaster transformation state Qianbei defended Pei High City for 5 years. Where's that Qianbei? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.